Welcome to the Baldur's Gate 3 spoiler cast of Act 2?
Max spoilers.
Max
Spoiler
spoilers.
cast. Yeah.
I know, so this is all covering only Act 2. There shouldn't be any spoilers for Act 3. We'll try our best. How far have you gotten into Act 3? Since I know you
I've
mentioned, I think...
not started. Not started Act 3.
How
I
do
stopped.
you... How do you have the power to stop? Because I did not.
I know. And I'm literally at the gate. I'm at Baldur's Gate, the name of the game.
I cannot believe... When I played this game, it took over my life. It was like the minute work was done, it was like Baldur's Gate until midnight, and like the weekends for like a marathon, absolutely just marathoning this game. And it still took I think in total I have like 170 hours in this game.
Amazing.
I absolutely could not, whenever I wasn't playing Baldur's Gate, I was thinking about that I wanted to play Baldur's Gate. I don't know how you're faring. Are you bouncing? Is it do you want to play?
I want to play it so bad that I'm stretching it out so it lasts longer.
I'm so sorry. But then you could do plans to do another playthrough?
Yeah, I want to do a Dark Urge playthrough like what you're doing after. Yeah. But I'm also just kind of, I'm not in a rush. I'm treating it very much like I treated Tears of the Kingdom, where it's I don't need to go fight Ganon. I'm having fun, but I can't really do that here because it's way more linear. So the only way I can compensate is just not playing it and being I can't wait to play it later, though.
The self-control you have to just delay the gratification of this game is insane to me. I am the exact opposite. I'm the kid that when they put the marshmallow in front of the kid and they're if you wait, you can have 2 marshmallows. Nope, that marshmallow's gone. Screw your 2 marshmallows. I want the marshmallow now.
You'll probably outlive us all, though, because those are the good human instincts. You'll get the
strength, the willpower. But welcome, everybody. I'm supposed to remind you that if you support MinnMax on Patreon at the $5 tier, you can unlock the podcast version of this, as well as several other cute little add-ons. I shouldn't say cute. Very valuable and worth your money add-ons. But thank you so much to everyone who does support us. So we can talk about Baldur's Gate 3 more. We probably will, I assume, talk about Act 3. It would be kind of weird if we just cut it after Act 2 and we were well, that was fun.
Yeah. We can
will be covering
2 goodbye.
No, we can't. We can't. Especially the way Act 2 sort of ends. But I guess we'll just get right into it. So Act 2, such a tonal change from Act 1.
Oh my god, the vibes were so different.
Absolute darker. Vibe shift. I was am I playing a horror game? I was not expecting it.
That's what you were saying our last episode. It was Act 1's forest time with your friends in the forest. Oh, a little puppy. Yip, yip, yeah, squirrel. And now it's spider demon with 80 eyes who isn't the kind of spider demon in Dark Souls where they're kind of aesthetically pleasing. It's what would happen if you smashed a spider and a man. It would look horrible. It would look horrible. It wouldn't be
I saw a comment that the lower half of Spider-Man in the game, not the real Spider-Man, not the Marvel Spider-Man, but it's actually his lower half is a female spider.
How and not
because someone said that one of his legs was smaller, which led them to think that his lower half had been modeled after a female spider and not a male spider. So
okay, cute.
That's interesting. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, and there's the Walking Deads everywhere, and I kind of messed up going into this Act 2, which is basically the Shadowheart chapter, right? This is
you were saying this is the Shadowheart chapter, and it's totally
true. This is her time.
It's all her.
I feel bad for every other character, because it's well, you're sidelined. This is actually, the game is, I feel very strongly revolves around Shadowheart.
I'm so curious what this chapter is if you don't have her in your party, because I had her every second of this chapter in my party. She was constantly with me. I've had her so far the whole game because it's just nice to have a healer. She's a life cleric for me now. She's not was she Trickster or whatever?
Trickster.
She's a straight up healer. She just pumps the heals at me. That's her whole job, and sometimes does her spells.
In this chapter, her radiant damage, was it Spirit Guardian on radiant damage? The Beyblade of
so
Death.
Useful. It was a Beyblade of Death.
MVP in this chapter. I would not have been able to get through this chapter without Shadowheart and her Beyblade of Death.
It's the COVID 5 feet away from me vibes. That's the ring. Do not come here.
put her little running shoes on. She puts her little Nike sneakers on, and she just all over all like the necrotic things. I did
Yeah.
mess up going into this chapter because at the end of Act 1, I respect into Necromancer, not knowing what
Okay.
Act 2 entailed, and I walked into Act 2, and I could not do
You couldn't do
damage to
anything.
anything. No,
Yeah.
everything was immune to necrotic damage, and
And you
I was
can't
like,
raise the dead spells on any of them, right? Because they're undead.
yeah. You can't. Well, you can't. I think maybe you can like put them under your control, but like because they die, you can't like re-resurrect them or like humanoids or whatever. So it was a rough chapter for me specifically. I was like, oh no, I made a mistake. But I will say, I did have some interesting moments in this chapter because of the necromancy. But we can start it off and try to go through it kind of linearly. Although this one, I
It's
do like
hard
that
with
in
this
every
one.
act. It like gets a little bit bigger, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
like in this one, there's like more structures to go in and out of, and I like the way that they kind of like vamp everything up for Act 3 because you haven't been to like the Baldur's Gate yet, which is a huge city,
Yeah.
and
I don't
Act
even know
2
what's
is a really
gonna
good
happen.
bridge between that of like how to navigate buildings in Baldur's Gate with like not a lot of people in them. But let's see. So we start out, we come into the Shadowlands. Shadowheart's like, "Did you know that I'm special and not dying?
Oh my god,
Because I
she
am
was the pick me
special."
in those for a
Yes.
second. It's like, oh my god, my lady loves me.
Yes. She was like, "Oh, you guys are dying? Not me. Must be thanks to Shar."
She loved it. She was like milking
Yes.
it too. Like I was like taking damage every few seconds. She was like, "This is awesome." I'm like, "Can you
She
read the
was
room? Can you shut up?"
Yeah,
Like
you're
clearly.
literally like, "I am literally." And the thing is I never picked up the light cantrip because I was like, "That's
Oh,
lame. I have dark vision. Why would I ever need the light cantrip? Like, I can see in the dark." And then I was like, got to Act 2 and I was like, "Oh,
you know
I
what? I
wonder how
had
long."
the light of Lathander or whatever, and that gave a
Oh.
big enough radius that it covered everybody, and they were okay. So I just had that
Yeah.
on my back. Although it was getting glitchy, I had to like unequip it and equip it sometimes. It would like be on my back, but
Interesting.
then they'd all be taking damage, even though they're like illuminated. And I was like, what? And if I just like made her pick up another weapon and then pick up that, it worked
It would work
suddenly.
again.
Yeah, but
I
that's what
had
I did until
to
I found the pixie.
Yeah, I didn't even know that I had a slot in my inventory for like a torch until Act 2. Like there's
Oh,
literally
really?
a torch button to
Yeah.
put your torch in, and I was like panicking, because I was like, do I even own a torch? I haven't used a torch this entire game. And then I
I
was like,
never
oh, there's a
used it.
slot here. That's so convenient. So I had to equip it. But in this chapter, this is a big Harper chapter. You run into the Harpers like right away. And if I
Yeah.
hadn't seen the D&D movie, I would have had zero idea who the Harpers were.
I don't know who the Harpers are.
Essentially, the Harpers are like a secret police. They're like the secret good guy police. But like
Okay.
good guy,
Why do the good guys have to be secret? It feels like it'd be the
I don't
opposite.
know. They're just like the little magic, like I don't know. They're like the CIA, where it's like, are they doing good or are they just enacting their own will? Question, question. It
Gotcha.
gets a little confusing with like the Flaming Fists, the
Yeah.
Harpers,
They all
like
have
what
names.
team everybody's on. Yeah,
Yeah.
but these poor Harpers, because I did notice in this chapter because of the darkness, like killing everybody slowly. If an NPC accidentally like wanders away, which they will like run away or wander away from the light, they will
Won't
just
jump.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that first battle, I had one guy who was like literally just too far away from the light, and he just stood there and like healed himself and then ran out of heals and he just straight up died. And I feel like that really like set me up for the rest of the act.
How long were you in the Shadowlands before you got the protection buff where you didn't have to worry about it
Um,
anymore?
I went, so I got in there, I encountered the Harpers, and they were like, "Oh, it's like pretty bad out here." And then they took me, I followed them straight to the inn because I
Yeah.
wasn't messing around. Like I was like, I'm not going to try and like go off book here because I kind of had a feeling that they had a solution to it.
Hmm.
And if you did try to kind of like run around and like explore outside of the plot, it would just be a pain.
Just damage. Just like poison. Essentially just constant poison damage.
Yeah, taking constant damage. But let's see. And then so you saved the Harpers. I assume you also just went straight to the inn.
I went straight to the inn. Like you walk up and the Harpers are like, "Who are you?" And it's like I was like, "Okay, I get it. Like I'm supposed to hang out with you." You fight those wraiths. They lead you to the inn. I hung out at the inn for a bit, and then I immediately left with those Harpers and saw the spider lady. And
Spider. Spider-Man lady. But
Spider. Yeah.
yeah, and then they basically immediately after that they give you the pixie, which
Yeah.
you just I love
So
it
you
feels very cuz it's like the light and then there's like advanced darkness too. Cuz across from
mhm.
the inn there's that old house and they're like, "Oh, this isn't it reminded me of that SpongeBob episode with like the deep dark where like this
Oh,
isn't
they're like
darkness. This is advanced darkness." Cuz they're like, "Oh, this is extra special darkness." Like how they're trying to get you out of it.
yeah.
But at the inn, you meet Jahira. I
Who's
love Jahira.
who's an icon and apparently is in the first
Yes.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, and it's, she's your, like, great hero,
Yeah.
leader
So
of the
is there
Harpers.
they were kind of talking about like they were gassing her up and I had Karlak in my party, which is super cute because she like nerded over her in a
Oh,
very cute way.
yeah,
She's
yeah!
like, I'm your biggest fan. It was like very sweet. And I was like, that's so cute. And other people were telling me like, oh, she fought in Baldur's Gate, blah, blah, blah. Is that just the plot of Baldur's Gate 1? Is that what they're
I
explaining to
I
me? I couldn't figure that
assume
out.
so? Yeah, I
Yeah.
assume so. That's what
Because
I took it as.
she's not the main character in Baldur's Gate 1. She's like a companion character, but she was there for it all. So I think when they're talking about the amazing victory in Baldur's Gate in her youth, probably it's the game,
Yeah,
but I never actually checked because I didn't want to Google it and then like some Act 3 thing pops up. I'm so scared of Googling this game because I'm still
yeah.
spoiler free on the ending. I don't know what happens and I'm so excited to find out. So it makes me just only as soon as Act 3 even gets whispered, I like switch the YouTube video. I move on from
Yes,
TikTok. I like can't
it's
even.
it's scary
Ugh.
out there, but yeah, chat is confirming that she's a companion in 1 and 2, which is so cool.
Oh, gotcha. So that must be them describing the plot in like a cute kind of like way that's very natural in this setting where it's like
Mhm.
in days of old the bards are
Yeah,
singing
it
us
was
her
nice that
song or
they didn't make it mandatory to know, because
yeah,
there's
no.
no way I'm looking up that plot.
Or they make it a cutscene like here's Jahira and here's her backstory like twinkle effect and we have to watch like a
Yeah,
5 minute cutscene of the first 2 games.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's one of my favorite characters, probably.
She's cool. But she's weak. I had her at my party and she knew like 2 spells and I was like, what's going
Yeah,
on? What was that about? Why does she know
you
nothing?
can respec her if you
Yeah, but
want.
I was really expecting like a really cool kit, and then she like
It is
joined
a
me.
little
Was like,
weird when you meet someone and they're like, "This is like the hero of all the heroes," and they're really strong and they're like the same level as you, and you're like,
yeah,
yeah, you're like, the what?"
she should be level
But
12 with the best gear, and she's like
yeah, that's the
level
same
like
with like,
8.
Karlach is supposed to be some sort of like master fighter, and then she's like level 3, and you're like, wow, Avernus is apparently pretty weak.
That's the
It's
tutorial
nice.
area is hell.
Yeah, it was nice going to the inn though and like seeing all of the tieflings and like
Yeah,
everyone you had saved from the grove there. I did feel kind of bad though, because like I was under the impression that they would like make it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got attacked and a lot of us died."
yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, did I really even save you from now you're just stuck in an inn in the middle of like an insta death world?"
It really shows that like if you're not around, everyone's just completely helpless because they leave your side of vision for 20 minutes and they get captured again, and like half of them
Yeah.
are in a dungeon, the other half are like injured and dying. And they're all crying and they're like, guess we're all just dead. I'm like, can you guys have
Yeah.
some agency and like can
My
you
thing
not
is
get to
like
point A and B?
did we not know that like there was like Death Valley between the ocean and Baldur's Gate? I'm like, nobody told me that like it was so scary in here.
You're going to the Shadowlands, you guys. Like,
Yeah, and you thought you could just walk into the
buy
Shadowlands?
some muscle, pay some muscle to escort
It
you.
honestly didn't seem worth it because like nothing really didn't seem like anything bad was happening besides the goblins on the beach. Like I don't like is Baldur's Gate really worth it? Um
I know.
You'll
Why
find
is
out in Act
everyone?
3. You'll find out in Act 3, Haley, if it was
I
worth it.
I need to see this. I'm excited to see a city setting because so far it's been so outside or in
Mhm.
caves and stuff. Like I want to see like the structured society of this
Yeah.
world. Like what does a corner store look like or
Act
something?
3
Like
has that for you,
I love
it's
it.
absolutely overwhelming. I'm excited for you to see it.
Oh, I'm excited.
Um, but
Do
then
you
I
like
like that they try to pair you up with the Harpers, and they just kinda get in the
yeah.
way.
Oh, they are not their best warriors out there on
No.
the front line. A lot of dead Harpers in my playthrough. I don't know about you. And I was trying to heal them with Shadowheart. Like, I don't know, like kind of like with Damon, how Damon had such like a follow through through like Act 1 and 2 at least, like the guy who
Mhm.
the Infernal Engine guy,
Yeah,
and
I
he's
like
just a
him.
random dude. Like, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I kind of treat every NPC as like potentially if they die, I could lose something.
Mm.
It's kind of how
Mhm.
I look at this. So when they're all up in arms and like get squishy as hell and getting destroyed, I'm like, okay, well, wait, like. I'll heal you so you can keep fighting, but so
Yeah.
many died, and I was just kind of crossing my fingers. I'm like, I hope they don't have a Damon line where they're like, "Oh, where's Patrick? He's like the best at making gloves. Oh, he's dead." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Damn it, I could have
no.
had cool gloves." Like I don't know the rules of this game entirely, even though I've
Yeah, they're
played
like,
so
"Oh my
much of it.
god, it's if Kevin was here, we'd be able to solve. He'd know the answer to this puzzle immediately."
Kevin could cure the plight on this land,
I
like
I will
Thaniel or
say
whatever
I
the guy's
did
name is.
because I was playing as a necromancer, and there's one of the biggest issues with being a necromancer is just the lack of bodies to resurrect, in my opinion.
Not enough
So you
corpses.
know that,
Is that
yeah, the
your problem?
corpses. There is an absolute shortage, a production shortage of dead bodies in this game. So you know when they where they killed all the tieflings
Yeah,
and how they just left their corpses there? I
strewn
marked it on
about
my map and I would like travel back and forth to it like it was Target. And I would like pick up corpses before I went on like dungeon runs.
in your bag. You were carrying the
No, no,
bods
no, I would
around.
just resurrect them. I would
Why
resurrect
would
them. But apparently
what?
Carla can carry corpses for you.
Yeah, I think I've heard that, and then that she'll just like chuck them on the ground, and you can be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, here's a."
I didn't know
So
that at the time.
how useful is that? Like, do you find that like game breaking? Not game breaking, but like it makes fights way easier to have that ability. Is what you're finding?
Well, I mean, the whole point of like a necromancer is it's kind of like a summoner where you're always supposed to have undead. Like if you're not utilizing your two undeads, you're basically like down two fighters in a battle. Like why do you even have that spell in your inventory if you're not going to have
Yeah,
two dead people?
yeah.
And it just helps a lot because if you have any kind of summons, um the enemies are likely to attack them as well. So it kind of like spreads out who the enemies focus and it
Okay.
makes it less likely that you'll be taking damage and more likely that like your skeleton will take damage.
Can you resurrect allies, or is it only enemies? So if the Harpers
Um,
died, could you use them?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, you can do allies too,
They're
but I
kind of
don't think you could
awkward though.
do like the story allies. Like I don't think you could resurrect like a Carlock. It would have to be
Okay.
someone that doesn't matter. But it was pretty. It was rough because I could not. And I think this is the same with all summons, but I could not walk around the inn or any kind of like populated area with these skeletons. Everybody freaked out.
What would they like? The
They
NPCs would just
literally,
scream.
yeah, they'd be like, "What is that? Like, get that out of here! Like, I can't believe you brought that here." And then I left where the inn was. Like, I took my skeletons and I was like, "I guess we're just not wanted here." Like, pretty rude. These are good skeletons. And then I walked them out, and the Harpers followed me. Two of the Harpers who were like guarding the gates
Yeah.
followed me out of the protective bubble of the inn, and then followed me like I was trying to run, so they would like detach. They followed me halfway across the map and then keeled over and died from like the blight or like the advanced darkness. And I was
Were
just
they
like,
following you to yell about how they hate the
they were
skeletons?
literally just like, "What are those? What are those?" And I was like, "Leave them alone." They were like, "What are those? Why? Excuse me, can you leave?" And I had to reload because once again, I was like, "What if this is Kevin and he's the only NPC who knows the solution to like the
Kevin, yeah.
unsolvable puzzle?" So I had to reload, and then every time I wanted to go to the inn, I had to dismiss my skeletons, which like
Oh my
destroys the
god.
bodies. Yeah, so I was hitting up the corpse store. I was
What a
hitting up that little
hilarious
corpse
problem.
pile. Yeah, it was so annoying.
Oh man, we gotta follow you to tell you how much we hate what you're up
Like,
to. Oh, I died.
yes.
That's so
And they were
funny.
like, they don't. I don't think they even realized. I hope they fixed it eventually. But that was one of like the issues I had with Act 2 is like I would accidentally like kite NPCs into dangerous situations with my skeletons.
That's so funny. What a niche problem, right? Like it's kind of fair
Yeah.
that that wasn't addressed because that's so specific. Like if you walk into they have to think about so many things. Okay, what happens if you walk in with as a bear, like as a
Yeah.
druid? Does anyone care? Yes, no. As an owlbear, yes, no. Like, okay, what about if we bring skeletons in? They just like forgot to check that box because there's like probably 1,000 other ones I can't even think of to what
Yeah.
happens if you enter Last Light in with X. And
Yeah.
it's just like they freak out and then they didn't code in, but they don't chase you for hours
Yeah,
like
like
screaming
eventually
at you.
they literally would not leave me alone until they died, and then I had to reload, and I was like, guess I'm not carrying these skeletons around forever.
Again, the Harpers aren't the brightest bulbs in the drawer, but
They were like,
they're
we're losing this war, and you're like, gee, I wonder why we're losing.
they're like running into Moonlight Tower. Like I hate what you're doing, Thorm. Like this is really not
Stop!
cool. Just
Stop
dying.
kidnapping people.
J.K. Simmons as a voice, by the way, I was so surprised. And he was great. I loved his voice.
I know. He was, I think I really
J.S.
like,
Simmons, what's his name?
I don't
I can't
the
remember.
voice actor guy.
I think I combined
The great
J.K.
guy.
Rowling
And
with
JS.
the guy
I
from
do really like
Juno, the
Act
dad
2
from Juno.
because it like introduces you to like the essential plot of the entire game, you know, like it introduces like the Sailor Moon baddies, as I like to think of them, where they're like, there are
Mhm.
3 evil people that you must defeat,
Yeah. Oh, and
and
the
then you will
girl is like
defeat
the
God
best one.
themselves.
I
Oren,
love
yeah.
I love her. She's crazy. What she says something so diabolical. She's like, "My blade is thirsty for your blood, but I guess I can quench it
She's a
somewhere
little
else."
thirsty for death.
I was like,
She's
"Whoa!"
you
But I
should
was
Act 3 expands on her story, and I feel like you're gonna love it.
she's like the type of character that I'm like, "Oh, she's awful," but I like have a little crush on. I'm
Yeah.
like, I shouldn't,
Yeah. You're
but
like, I know
what's
that
up
she's
with
evil,
her?
but why do I want to be her?
Yeah, like I don't like jocks and toxic men, but I like really toxic women. I'm like, what's she up to? I'll
What's
watch
her
her.
deal?
Mhm.
And then they also introduce Isabel at the end, like the
Oh,
Selenite
yeah.
moon
She's
maiden.
cute.
She's super cute, but like I immediately like did not trust her.
Oh, really? I
All
immediately
I've learned
trusted her.
about Baldur's Gate is like I have trust issues. Because every time they introduce somebody and they're like, she has the best intentions, I'm like immediately, I hate you. I
Oh
don't
my
like
god.
you.
I was so
Like they're like,
opposite.
she's helping us. She's so great. Like go get blessed by her. I was like, Sussy, you're suspicious. I don't like you.
Is that because you're a Shadowheart girl, though? Like,
I don't know.
were you buying into Shar at all your first playthrough of this when you got to
No,
this point? You knew Shar was like, okay,
I
what?
knew it
That's
was gonna
clearly
end.
evil.
I had because I found that note in Act 1, and this is the chapter where Shadowheart, if you're like in a relationship with her, opens up to you about how she ended up in the Shar cult.
Yeah.
Essentially, she's like, I was in the woods by myself, and like the wolves attacked me, and the Sharans saved me, and I have no memory of anything else before that. And you're like immediately suspicious.
I know, like, girl, think about that for 2 seconds. She's
Yeah,
like, it's
and
trust, it's faith. I'm like,
and in Act 1, you find a note in the Owlbear Cave by the Selenite statue that's like, when
oh
worshippers
yeah.
of Soluna are doing their like entrance ceremony for new recruits or like their little like hazing whatever, they put their kids in the woods and they have to come back under the light of full moon.
I never made that connection, but I read that note.
I read that note
Wow.
and I was like, when I saw that, I was like immediately suspicious. Immediately I was like, Shadowheart, I'm going to save you.
Oh my
And that was
god.
my
That's
goal in this chapter.
Was it frustrating that you made the connection as the player and you couldn't like
Yeah,
have a voice line that's like, "Hey, I just
it
read
was a
this and
little
I think you got
frustrating.
tricked." Like, by the
Yeah,
way.
like, hey, I think I think that you might be with the baddies. I think you've been brainwashed a
Yeah.
little bit. I thought that my love would fix her, but she broke up with me 3 times in this chapter.
Actually,
Of me trying to fix her, she broke up with me in 3 different ways.
I love it. That is so realistic because she's going through a lot of turmoil this chapter. So she's
Yeah.
not going to be a reliant partner to be like, that's kind of fair. I love the
Yeah.
fact that she dyes her hair though. That's so freaking funny.
I
That is so
really
real
I
of
had
her.
to work for that. I had to work for blonde-haired Shadowheart. I put in the effort.
See, I almost kind of got pseudo spoiled because I saw videos with blonde Shadowheart, but I
And you
didn't
were
have the
like,
context on it. And I'm like, okay, like let's think of every trope in every movie forever, like light and dark, evil and
Mhm.
good, right? Like, so I'm guessing blonde means she like chose to leave Shar was like my thought, and that was
Yeah.
true. Like that's what they did. So like I almost kind of got spoiled, but like essentially what I was just playing is I want blonde Shadowheart, and I was just playing the game to get
You were like,
blonde
what
Shadowheart.
buttons do I have to press to get blonde Shadowheart?
When did she dye her hair? I'll do whatever it takes. I'll kill Gale. I'll
Poor
let
Gale's like,
Will. Yeah, Gale can explode. Will can
oh
go back
yeah.
down to the hells, but give me blonde
I
Shadowheart,
feel
please.
so bad for Gale because at the beginning of this chapter, you run into Elminster, like the old Dumbledore, the old wizard man. And
The
he's like,
cheese man.
Gale, Mr. wants you to explode.
He drops that on him like it's the most casual thing. He's
Yeah,
like, by the
you
way,
know,
you're gonna die in like a week, and
we
Gale's
think
like,
we're gonna
oh,
use you as like kamikaze bomb. Like you're the
he's
get
a
in
nuke.
there,
He's
literally blow
he's
yourself
just a
up.
nuke, and he's like totally fine with it. And
And
did
I
you
feel
have that?
bad. He was a little bit of a bummer about it. I
I mean,
feel
is that
bad,
not
but
fair?
honestly, he was being well, I was like, Gale, you don't have to do it. And Gale was like, I do have to do it. And I was like, you don't. And like I was like, you're being a little bit of a bitch about this.
I'm weak. He's like, I just learned I'm a nuke, and you're like, can you shut the hell up for 2 seconds?
We have bigger problems here, Gale. Just don't.
Shadowheart is having a crisis of faith. Can you
Yeah.
shut up for 2 seconds? Yeah, we get it. You're a nuke.
I feel like I'm like, Gale, like take yourself out of the nuke narrative, Gale. It's so easy. Just take yourself out of it. Just don't do it.
I feel
It
bad
really
because I
does
was
feel like Shadowheart's doing like the Barbie movie and Gale's in the middle of like Oppenheimer.
totally. Oh my god, what an apt comparison. I also felt really bad because like right before this, I kind of like pseudo broke up with him. I didn't think I was dating him, but he was like me or he said me or Will, and I think I talked about
You
this
were like,
last time.
Will?
I
I'm
wasn't
into
even
Will?
romancing Will. Like Will and I are good friends. Like I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I slept with Karlak like last night. Is that who you mean? Are you
Yeah.
confused on names or
That must
something?
have been before they like patched out Gale
Yeah.
getting like really into you for feeding him magical objects.
Yeah,
Because he
he got
also
really
did that to
into me.
me. I don't remember what chapter we had astral sex in. I think it was this one. But we
Oh,
did. I wanted
you
to
like
see
slept
it
with
and we
Gale?
yeah, we had astral projection sex. It was pretty wild.
Wow.
Uh yeah, we were like there were like limbs, a lot of limbs. We were like in the sky in space, purple
Okay, I'm
and like the
intrigued.
limbs were like multiplying at one point.
So, okay, the fact that Mistra controls magic, does that mean she was like kind of there for that? If you
Oh
slept with him in the weave, which is what it sounds
no. Yeah.
like, was she like
That's probably why
puppeteering
she
you?
turned Gale into an
She was
atomic
probably
bomb.
like, yeah, she's like, that's enough. You're a nuke now. I'm weak.
Anyways.
But so I kind of broke up with him, and then he immediately got that news, and it's kind of like when you break up with someone and then like their like relative dies and they're like, I'm in a really bad spot, and I'm like, ew, but it's like not technically my problem anymore, but you like feel bad. So it's like how I kind of went
Yeah.
into the chapter. I was like, listen, I don't like you, like I'm really sorry, and he was like, okay, and then like Westminster Abbey or whatever the heck that dumb Gandalf looking guy came around the corner and was like, by the way, you're dead. And he was like, oh my god. And I was just like, oh, this is so horrible, but I don't really care if Gale dies or not. I like Gale. I remember on the first pod we like talked about this game. I was like very pro Gale, and I've like completely swapped. I don't not like him.
Mm.
He's just like super boring and he's squishy, and I just don't use
Mhm.
him ever. So I don't care about him anymore. But he's just such a
I did feel like he was going through his like a little bit of a depressive episode in Act 2. And also I didn't use
yeah,
him either. So I just kind
yeah.
of left him. I put him back at camp. I think he had like a funny hat on and no clothes. He had like a cowboy hat and undies on, and I'm like, he's going through
We are
something.
so mean to Gale.
He doesn't deserve. And one of my goals is to figure out like the good side of Gale for
Mhm.
for like replaying it, because he also
Mhm.
has like a weird end in Act 3. So I'm like trying to figure out like,
Interesting.
is this just how he is, or like have I messed him up somehow?
Yeah, interesting. That's yeah, because right now it's like he hasn't really had any reason for me to have him in a party. Like I think two things have come up where he's like been like, I have a word to say about this, and like everyone else like has way more to say, like Karlak and Shadowheart and
Mhm.
Lae'zel. Like they have so much stuff going on. Meanwhile, he sometimes is like, this is magic I've heard about, and he makes like a
Yeah.
lantern or something, and I'm like, okay, back to the camp with you.
He
Like
does have that one meme that keeps going around about like the licking the spider. Have you
oh my god,
heard that
I
one?
saw that was so
And
funny.
it
He's
really turned me around to his character.
He's so funny in that scene. It made me like him again.
I wish they had more of that in the game.
Yeah. Cause like that was such a natural line delivery. Like it really felt like
Mhm.
your friend being like, "What are you? Oh my god, stop!" Like it was like very well delivered. It's
Yeah.
probably the best voice acting in the whole game. I think just from a random like you can lick something gross and Gale's like, "Ew." And, do you
Why
have
would
to
you do
romance
that?
him for that? I think
I
maybe or
don't
something.
think so. I think he just has to be in your party. I don't know.
Mm,
I never got the opportunity to lick a spider. I don't know. I assumed it was Act 2 or I don't
yeah,
know, Act 1. I never licked the spider. I didn't know I could.
I never licked any spider. Yeah,
Hmm.
never encountered
Don't
the
have the urge for
opportunity.
it.
Don't know
But
if I would have done it, but
yeah, going back to the inn, how did your inn fight go? Where you're talking to Isabel, she blesses you, and immediately some guy shows up and it's just like, I'm gonna kidnap you.
Yes. So I had really good brawlers in my team. I had Lae'zel and
Yes, and Karlach.
Karlach.
Yes.
So they were like her bodyguards because clearly they made it so everyone was aggro Isabel. Like that, as soon
Mhm.
as the fight started, those like winged, like the monkeys from Wizard of Oz, they gave me that vibe. They
Yes.
were like all flying towards her. And then the guy with the weird spindly wings was I forget his name, but he was like, "Oh, I'm going to kill you too." And everyone was so strong. So she barely survived, but the only thing I made Shadowheart do is just heal her, and
Mhm.
then I just like killed everything and she survived. But then I read later, if she dies, it like completely changes the chapter. Or if she gets kidnapped there, I mean, sorry.
I could see that. Yeah.
So if she gets kidnapped and taken away, the shadow protection spell goes down. Everyone at the inn becomes shadow people, and you have to kill everyone in the inn.
Oh
And then
my
Halsin
god.
leaves your group because like Halsin's whole arc in this is like he wants to get rid of the shadow curse, right? Like that's like
Yeah.
his druid desire is to like fix the nature in the world or
Mhm.
whatever. And yeah, if you mess up that one little fight, and it's hard to like if you haven't prepared and like if you had Gale and like I don't know who else might not be the best
You
there, but you know
had
what?
Gale and some other person who sucks.
Three Gales. If you had three Gales, you'd be boned because
Yeah.
like AOE wouldn't work there. You just need to like just kill everyone who comes in the room as soon as they come in the room. It's the only way to like
Yeah.
I felt like save her. And if you mess that up and you don't know that's what happens, like if she gets taken
If you don't
away,
reload, if you're like, oh, that was supposed to happen.
yeah. And like the thing too, I was reading about it too, is like if she gets taken away and that happens, you really don't understand like the long term effects of it till like
Hmm.
the end of the
The end
chapter.
of Act 2, yeah.
Yeah. So like do you want to go back and play 12 hours over again to like protect Isabel and do the whole chapter? Probably not. So then that
Mm-mm.
playthrough is just completely like weird now based on not being able to protect one character in a fight. Like that's crazy to me. And they
Hmm.
don't warn you or anything. They're like, make sure she doesn't get taken. Like they don't do any of that hand-holdy stuff. They're just like fight. And you're like, okay. And it determines the whole act. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, and it happens at the beginning. It doesn't help that like Jahira's like casting like AoE spells on
Yes.
people.
She's like
And like
ensnaring everybody. And I'm like, you're
I
ensnaring
was so
me
afraid I
also.
was gonna lose Alfira. I literally I like slowed everybody, which is really good for that fight. And I sprinted out just to save my little like bard tiefling. I was like, no, Alfira! Alfira, who now has like PTSD and anxiety from getting attacked on the roads. Like she's not, and like Maul gets kidnapped, which I was really mad about.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like, why does Raphael want her? That's what I'm really curious about.
Mm-hmm.
Because that guy's up to something.
He's up to no good. And I was like,
Yeah.
dang it, I just saved that urchin. And now it got kidnapped again.
And also, he's just like playing chess. And I'm like, why are we all. I guess maybe they don't know who he is. But I feel like when they saw him again, they weren't like, devil from hell. They were like, chess, hi. And then you can like go over and talk to him. And he's just like hanging out, playing a board game.
Yeah, he's like, I like this kid. I think I'll take their soul. And you're like, damn it, Raphael. Up
It's like,
to your old
anyways.
tricks again.
And Chihira's like, that was weird. I was like, why didn't you help? You're just over here at the front desk of the inn that isn't operating.
I know.
It's like
And she's
standing
making
there.
you drink like truth juice because she has trust issues, and you're like, I'll drink your. I drank the truth juice. I have
I don't
nothing
think
to hide.
I didn't have to drink any truth juice. What's that?
What?
She
She
just
gave you wine, and she put like a truth serum in it, so
I
like
didn't do
you
that.
would tell her, what the hell? Is it
How
because
come
of
I
the
didn't have to do that?
skeletons?
She saw your skeletons and was like, drink
I had
this
to
juice.
drink the truth juice. Yeah, it's really hard being a positive influence on the community as a necromancer. I didn't see that one coming. But do we want to cover like what are they like Ketheric Thorm's undead relatives, or do we want to go into the Gauntlet of Shar?
Ugh. I think Shar technically happens before all of the Ketcher. At least that's the way I did it. Like I kind of went
I
down to Shar Temple,
yeah.
came up to Moonlight a bit, and then went back down to Shar to finish it off, and then went to Moon Temple, Moonrise Towers, or whatever again. That's
Moonrise
like I was
Tower.
kind of bopping around. Is
Yeah,
what
I
I
was
did.
bopping around a lot too, but for some reason in my mind I was like completely focused on not distracted, and I all over the place.
Because once you
But
go into
it's
the pool of Shar, that's when it like moves
that's
forward.
yeah.
So I was at the pool and then I went to Moonrise and I did a lot of
Yeah.
Moonrise, and then when they were like, we need the artifact, then I went back and went in the pool. and then it moved
See,
it
I
forward.
was like too afraid to go into Moonrise. I thought that like going into Moonrise
It
would
was
like
easy.
I thought it would further the plot, but
Yeah.
you're supposed to. They just like let you in and they let you look around.
I thought I was supposed to
There's like
fight and
some cool
whatever.
stuff in there.
Yeah, they were like, come in. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And everyone trusted me like immediately.
It's the brain
Oh,
worms. They're like, you got worms?
did you have a Astarion in your party when that drow was like giving you a potion?
She's
And
like, give me his blood.
she asked him to bite her. And he goes, and he doesn't want to. It was a really funny interaction because I really fell in love with Astarion in this section. Like I started using him, and I haven't used him at all, but he's so funny. And I kind of wanted him to be around for the Raphael stuff because he kind of hinted like,
Mm-hmm.
bring me around next time you see Raphael. And I was like, okay. So I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of had him in my party because Raphael tends to just kind of
Appear whenever.
spontaneously appear. So I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
like mess it up and lose something for him because it seemed like it was important. So I've had him in my party most of Act 2, and I've really liked him. Like I like have him be he's part fighter, part rogue. So
Oh, that's nice.
he can
Yeah.
dual wield and sneak up and just absolutely go like stab and like demolish everybody. He's so strong. So now he's like I replaced him with Karlak, which I feel kind of bad because she's like my favorite, but he
I
just
think
does more damage
Assyrians
than her.
has more interesting lines too.
He's pretty fun. Like he's genuinely like makes me laugh. Like he's the funniest
And you
character.
do run into Raphael outside of the mausoleum, right? Which
I didn't
is the
have him
start.
there.
What? When you ran into
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, I didn't. And you know what? It's because I
Interesting.
straight up forgot to put him back in. And then it was like a couple hours later, I was like, oh my God, I forgot that Astarion has to like talk to him. So I went and told Astarion. He got really mad at me. He's like, you saw him and you didn't tell me. And I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, okay,
It's
well,
so
next
funny.
time you see him, make sure I'm there. So
It's
then
like when
it
you
kind of
see us, you get a celebrity sighting and forget to invite your friend.
literally, it's like their favorite celebrity of all time. And you're like, I saw him at the mall and I didn't
And you're
call
like,
you. And
you
it's like,
didn't tell me?
but he
Apparently, in the mausoleum, there's another like Astarion Raphael, like in the Temple of Shar, that you can
oh,
do.
what's that?
It's when you fight the other. Basically, Raphael is like, there's a demon in there that I don't like. Be
Yes,
careful, I don't like him. Don't
the big
trust
beefy
him.
guy.
Yeah, if you go in there, you can like chat with him and like discuss options of not killing him.
Yeah.
And Astarion is a part of that. Like he has like a conversation in that part, or he has like a little like
Oh,
special moment with his storyline.
I think I missed it because I didn't have him when he talked to
I
Raphael
missed it
because
too.
he was in my party to talk to the big beefy guy. I forget his name. Fenric or something. He was there for that, but he wasn't there for the Raphael talk outside the mausoleum.
Mm.
I think that locked out whatever you're talking about for me.
Yeah, that was I think, yeah, someone in chat, Joe Carpet says Yurgir, which is the name of
Sure.
the devil that you're supposed to go after. That is in the Temple of Shar. I just jumped him, like I just attacked him because he was like
Oh,
waiting in ambush. I
I
didn't
didn't know.
realize you could talk to him.
Yeah. Oh,
I was
I
in a very
talked to him.
murdery mood.
I was trying to figure out the mystery. I always knew I was gonna kill him, but I was just kind of like talking to him to see like if there
Just
was
feel
something
him out.
sassy I could do to like trick him or something. Yeah, you can riz him into killing himself. Is
There's
the thing.
pretty much every boss in this section of the game, you can risk them into their own death.
The doctor? Did you do that with the
The
doctor guy?
doctor,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, you should
The
do your own stuff on you. And he's like, good point, and just killed himself. I was like, okay, cool.
the doctor, the money lady, the
Yes.
toll master lady, and the guy at the bar. You can like outdrink him until he
Yes.
explodes.
Oh, you're right. Actually, yeah, that's like the whole theme of this section. I
Yeah,
didn't
the
think
whole
about it,
theme of
but
this section is like, don't fight the bosses. Let them take themselves out for you.
yeah. But I couldn't do that with the rolls were too high for this guy. I did that with the other ones.
Oh,
But not this guy. The rolls were like 22 at one point or something, and I was like, okay.
I don't know why. I just wanted to get the drop on this guy. I wanted to push him into the pit so badly that
Yeah.
I didn't even like have a conversation with him. And then
He
he
has
pushed
like
everyone into the pit and it sucked.
yeah, he like has this weird kind of like vibe with like that cat that he had with him that it's
Mm-hmm.
like the leopard that has like the tendrils sticking out, which
What
I
is
can
it?
turn
Oh my
into now,
god.
by the way.
It's like the teleportation cat.
Yeah, it
The
can make copies of itself.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but I can turn into that now, and it's OP as heck. By the
I'm
way,
so
it's
jealous.
awesome. It's one of the
Oh yeah,
worm
Displacer
abilities.
Beast. I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yes.
Displacer Beast.
Yeah. And he like they kind of pseudo imply he's like in a relationship with the displacer beast. Because I'm a druid, so I wanted to talk to her, and she was like, "That's my master, and he's so sexy." And I was like, "What the
That's my
hell?" And
daddy.
like literally,
He's giving daddy vibes.
and I was like, "Why don't you become?" Because then there was prompts that's like, "Why don't you become my like join my party? I'll treat you better." And she was like, "I was like, oh my god, sick. Am I gonna get like a pet?" And she was like, "Ew, no, he's so daddy." Like that's like literally what how she phrased it. And I was like, "Okay." And then you can convince him to kill her, and like I saw that I watched the cutscenes for like if you're able to convince him of everything. I didn't do that myself. I ended up just fighting him because I missed on the skill checks. But he like turns around to
Mhm.
kill her, and he's like, "Goodbye, my darling love," and he like then he kills her. So I'm like, are y'all like
Damn.
together or what's going on with the two of you? Like, huh? You
No, I
did you
totally missed
investigate the
that.
beast's food? Someone's asking.
I
Why? What
think I
happened?
did. I think
What's
I
in
did. Or
there?
like I took something from its nest, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, I
I
wonder
was
what.
like I was over there messing around, being a little sneaky sneakster.
It
But
did have a weird
I
nest.
definitely
Yeah.
feel like in all of the like trials of the Temple of Shar, because Shadowheart's like, this is it. I'm gonna become. Oh my god, what are they called? Like the high priest. I don't. They have like a fancy name for them, but like she's
Dark
like, I'm gonna become
Justiciar.
a dark justiciar of Shar, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, you keep telling yourself that, baby. Like I'm doing this to make you
She was
happy.
chomping at the bit when you were
She
jumping down.
was.
She was like, "Oh my god! Like I'm here.
She
It
was like,
is."
and then you get to the bowl where you can like, like slit your wrist to give your blood to Shar, and she was like, "Let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. I
I
was
was like,
made for this. Let me do it." And I was
but
like,
then she didn't come in to
"Okay."
do the puzzles with me, so I'm like, okay, are you
No,
really helping that
I
much? Like,
feel
to
like
be
I
honest,
did end up brute forcing a lot of the puzzles. Like
yeah,
I
me
feel like
too.
I didn't really solve them like legitimately, like especially the jumping puzzle or like the dark
Oh
pathway
yeah, I
puzzle.
flew. Did you
I
fly?
flew. Yeah, I flew. I was
Me
like, oh
too.
shit, this seems like a lot of work. Let me just fly over there.
I just turned to a raven and flew across, and it was like, "You are so trusting of your dark lady Shaw," and I was like, "Okay, I'm a
Yeah,
bird, but
okay.
sure."
Okay.
Oh, Chad is
And then
saying the
this is
displacer beast food is laced with charm spell. So there's a little bit of story there. So
he
he's
will feed
charming
his
the
own
thing.
cat. Oh, I guess
He
like
he he love potioned his cat. That's very weird.
I mean, I guess that's one way to get it to do what you want.
Maybe there's some
Not a very
weird way
good
to
one.
like replace its food and then it'll join you. I wouldn't put it past the game
Oh.
devs to allow that if you can
Yeah.
figure
Or
out the
at least
food
you were
thing.
supposed to. I wonder if you could tell it or like give it
Oh
something. I
yeah,
don't know. There's so many options in this game.
I
But
know.
did you when you met the necromancer, the evil necromancer who like taught Ketheric Thorm how to become who like how
Immortal.
that necromancy was fun or something. Like a
Yeah,
fucking pyramid scheme of necromancy. But did
essentially.
you kill him on sight?
No. I knew I was killing him eventually though. But again, I always like I don't
Balthazar,
jump to
yeah.
murder. I try to see what I can get out of these little
That
friggers
is
and
so
then I kill
interesting
them.
because I jumped to murder a lot.
That's fair. That's fair though.
I had a necromancer line, so I was like really happy about that. As a
Mm.
necromancer, I went to talk to him, and he was like, "Do all this stuff for me." And I had a necromancer line that was just like, "You're not a good necromancer, and you give necromancers a bad name." And then I said
Roasted.
that, and he was like, "You're an idiot." And then he literally just straight up called me an idiot, and then we had to start fighting.
So
So
you fought him in his library
I
place.
fought him in his library.
Oh, I fought him down by the Night Song area.
It literally, I think it really messed up my good Shadowheart run,
Oh,
not
why?
having him at that point, because I think when he gets down there, he's the one that kind of like insinuates that Shadowheart has been like messed with mentally. Like
Yeah,
the Night
he does.
Song, aka Lady Aelin, does also say that, but like she I had to redo that part 3 times because I couldn't get Shadowheart to not kill Aelin. I was like, "Don't kill her." And then she
Yeah.
was like, "Fine, I guess I'll just kill you." So first I killed her. And then I was like, "Oh, I thought I could knock her out and then like talk some sense into her later, but no, I just killed her." And then I was like, "Okay, what if I just like try as hard as possible?" And I kept telling her no, and then she didn't like to hear that. And then for one of them, I left her at camp because she can't control herself, apparently. So I
You
literally
couldn't
left her
bring
at
her.
camp and I got Aelend out. And then when I left the mausoleum, she was standing there and she was like, "I cannot believe that you did that without me. I cannot believe that you wouldn't let me have my own destiny. Like, I cannot believe that you wouldn't let me kill that lady." And then she left the party. She was like, "I'm leaving. We're over. We're done."
Oh my god, interesting.
Yeah,
Whoa,
I
that's
could
crazy.
not convince her to not kill the Night Song unless I just kind of, like, let her kill the Night Song and at the last minute. And it really
She
I don't think the
decides.
dialogue choices were, like, very good there without Balthazar. I think that
Yeah.
that would have helped a lot because, like, I had to quite literally look up what to say to get her to, like, chuck the spear.
Yeah. No, that was a hard conversation, which yeah, would have been way harder without him because he's like a second opinion, right? He's
Yeah.
like Night Song's like, they're clearly tricking you, like blah blah blah. And he's like, it's true. So then it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh crap. But
And
if
then I
Night
was like,
Song's
they're
saying that,
clearly yeah. I was like, Nightsong was like, "I know who you truly are," and Shadowheart was like, "You're not my mom. Shar's my mom." And I was like, "No, bestie. Like, remember when how we talked about, all these things, and like we were like, maybe you don't need her." And she was like, "No, I'm evil now." So yeah, it was a lot harder without Balthazar there.
I wonder, I'm so curious how much like the pre like relationship with her goes into like the how you succeed there. Like if you're dating her, obviously she's gonna like value your opinion more. But if you're just kind of like a buddies or acquaintances or whatever, like
Yeah, we
I was
were
like,
dating. We
yeah,
were like, I could get smoochies on demand from Shadowheart, which I did
wow.
request smoochies often, and she was still like, I don't know, like, what about what I want? And I was like, what about what I don't want you to do? So basically, if you tell her not to kill Nightsong, she'll kill Nightsong. And if you don't say anything at the
She's like
last
a
minute,
child.
randomly, she'll just decide not to kill Nightsong.
If you like if you give her your trust to do the right thing, she like
Yeah,
feels guilt tripped and does the right
but
thing.
it's yeah, but it's like I don't know. I'm not. Once again, I've learned through Baldur's Gate 3 that I am not a trusting person, and I kept telling her like, please think about this. And she didn't like that, so she was like, no, I'm a
Now
murderer.
Now that I think about it, this section has a lot of moments where you have to just be like, "Do you, baby?" and like see what your companions do. Because there was one with Gale when you Balthazar's library and you go in the back, and he
Hmm.
like sees the pixie magic and he's like, "Oh, this is dark magic," and I'm like, "Oh, well, like use it and make something cool for us." And apparently, I didn't do this because I like let him choose what he wanted. But you get like a crazy shadow summon that you can use the rest of the
Ooh,
game that like just goes around and like can barely be hit and just like curse everybody.
that's
Or
crazy.
if you say he's like I don't want to, you can like either force him and be like do it, Gale, you baby, and then he's like okay, and then he does it. Or you can say do whatever you'd like I trust you, and he destroys the magic, and then you get like something else I can't remember. And then so there's that. There's a Shadowheart thing, and then the Asterian Drow thing is like she's like if you bite me, I'll give you this potion that gives you a permabuff, and she didn't say what it was. And
Mm.
she was like, it's the best potion in all the realm or something. I was like, oh my God, what is this potion? So I'm like, Asterion biter, like, what are you doing? And he was like, I don't want to. And I like had an aside with him. He's like, come here. And we like had an aside away from the drow. And he's like, I really don't want to. Like, her blood is so stinky. Was like literally his reason. Like, apparently
She's
drows
stinky. I
have
don't
like
want to.
stinky blood. And I was like, do whatever you want to do. I trust you. And then he like really liked me after that. He's like, thank you. And he like went back to her. He's like, no. And she's like, okay, and like walked away. And I was like, I wonder what that buff was, but like I would rather be nice to Asterion than like get I don't know. They did like a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
that stuff in this chapter, which is cool. Like, do you trust your companions more than getting stuff? And I was like, I
yeah.
think I like my companions more than stuff at the
Hmm.
moment.
Yeah, it's like how much do you value your relationship with your companions?
Do you trust them like genuinely?
Hmm.
And they're like asking you to do a trust fall and like just like see what happens. And
Yeah.
that's a cool way to do your game mechanics. Like you just have to it's like a real friend. You're like, do you? And you just like gotta cross your
Yeah.
fingers and hope they
What do
do
you
well.
want?
But apparently if
I
you
will
let her
say, yeah.
kill Night Song, it's like one of the worst decisions in the game, I've heard from other
It
people.
really is.
Really?
It's because Night Song helps you a lot in that final battle with like
She
Ketheric Thorm, and
does.
she's in the party, and she's also still with you in parts of Act 3. I wouldn't
Okay.
say it's like make or break, but it's like you don't get the whole like Aelin and Isabel backstory where it's like they were together and like they loved each other, but you don't get the whole like Ketheric Thorm resurrected his daughter and didn't tell her that his immortality is tied to her girlfriend.
I know.
Oh,
Like, how
he's keeping in
awkward.
a Shar prison in the underneath his own family mausoleum?
I thought that was so funny when it was revealed that, like, she was the girlfriend of like, her girlfriend's dad was
So
doing this to
messy.
her.
Like, the
I was
family
like,
drama of this was insane.
yeah, like, it became very personal, because when it's just, like, random, like, he found Night Song and she was a strong, like, demigod and he
Yeah.
captured her. It's like, that's one thing. That's your
Yeah.
daughter's girlfriend. Like, what are you doing? That's so awkward and personal now. Like, weird
Yeah,
vibes.
well, it's like, what is it? Like, his wife dies, he loses faith in Selûne, he turns to Shar, he starts
Yeah.
experimenting with necromancy, and then his daughter dies, and that's when he sort of, like, makes the deal to, like, resurrect her. And it's like,
Yeah.
I knew I didn't trust her, and they never really explain what life is like as a zombie for her, because
Is
she's
she a
not.
zombie? She's not
He
really.
resurrected her!
But she's
I don't
like,
know if he just
yeah, she
put her.
looks
Yeah.
normal.
She's. Well, except for, like, the black makeup dripping
Yeah.
under her eyes, but. Yeah, so messy. I love that it's like, yeah, on the surface it just seems like evil man kidnaps like god, son of god, daughter of goddess to,
Yeah.
make himself live forever, but it's like, yeah, really that's his daughter's girlfriend and they're really into each other and you broke them up for this.
Awkward. I like how the reason that they stop believing in gods is not that whether or not they exist, because they so clearly exist in this
Mhm.
world. Like, that's the daughter of the god you used to follow. It's just like, what has
Yeah.
the god done for me lately? It's like
Yes. What have
that's
you
like
done
how they
for
view
what
it.
have you done for me lately?
Yeah, he's like, my wife died and Seluna did nothing. I'm like, people die, dude. Like, you can't, like, what do
Yeah.
you mean the gods have to intervene every time someone dies? Like, that's crazy. How is the world gonna function? She's like, so I turned
Yeah.
to this other god. I'm like, that is ridiculous. Like, usually it's like, I think my god's real because of my books, but like the gods are actively like hanging out with them. So like, how
And
do you
then
determine?
he's like, and I'm like the chosen champion of this fake human god of like necromancy and death, and I and then he literally flips the entire area, kills everybody, like turns it over
Yeah,
to Shar, and he's like, but I'm not the baddie. Like, wasn't his whole role is his whole role is to basically roll up to Baldur's Gate with an army.
yeah.
That's his job.
And he's like, I'm nice, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
yeah. He's like, I think that this is okay. I haven't seen my daughter in months,
Yeah,
but
that's the
I'm
other
sure
thing.
she misses me.
Does he think she's dead again? I was a little bit confused about that because he's like, my darling Isabel. And I'm like, the one I met earlier who's like alive and hanging out. Like, I wanted to
I
be
think they're
like
just
that one.
not talking,
He kind of sounds
right?
like he thinks she's dead sometimes, though.
Huh.
I couldn't figure it out.
Maybe he doesn't. No, he knows that he resurrected her because she explains how like weird it is
And then she
being
ran away from
resurrected.
him.
Yeah. I guess he
You would
just
think
assumes
that when
she's
he
gone.
dies, she would die again because his magic is what's keeping her alive? Or is it
Hmm.
just that once you're resurrected, it's like turning a light switch back on? You're just like, back
I
up.
think he's just sad that she's not more grateful for being resurrected with her girlfriend because she doesn't know her girlfriend's been kidnapped
No. She
either.
thought she was dead. And then
Because
the
he
other
told
one
her.
thought she was dead. It was very
I
Romeo
thought
and
it was
Juliet.
cool thinking that like the night song was some kind of monster, like Shadowheart mentions,
Yeah,
like it must be like a great beast, this like
yeah.
great evil. And then yeah, you get down there and it's just like some lady.
Some lady who seems nice and is actually
Yeah,
witty
she
and
seems
like good at
nice. I
chirps.
like her.
Yeah. No, I kind of felt like that was going to be the vibe because there's a few times in the gauntlet where they mention like, and then you kill like a Salune worshiper and then you're a Dark
Mhm.
Justiciar. And I'm like, oh, I bet she can't kill an innocent person because like she still thinks about herself in the woods as a little girl with the wolves
Mhm.
or whatever and values human life. And but then yeah, they took it even further. It's like, no, that's not just a Saluna innocent person. That's like the daughter of Saluna. You'd
Oh,
be super
Selena.
boned if you if you kill her.
I'm
Like
starting to think these like gods aren't very responsible at all. Like, what do you mean? Like your daughter's just been held kidnapped and you've just been
for a
what,
hundred
Selena?
years. It's been a while. It's not like a year and they're figuring out a plan.
Yeah.
Like she's been down
Something
there for
that
100.
comes that I wish came up more is there is that like backstory where like the Selenites and the Selena temples have basically been like overrun and overthrown, and it's basically like their entire religious organization has crumbled.
I didn't
Structure
get
and but
any of
they
that.
don't bring that up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. What, just because Shar became too powerful or what?
I don't know. I think something Shar had something to do with it, but like in some like previous war or tussle, they basically just like took them out completely.
Is
And they
that
used to
the
be like the
whole
main religion.
and that's the whole battlefield area, right? Like that's where that went down,
Hmm.
likely, I think.
Yeah, I just wish
So,
that there had been a little more because it's really cool like flavor text and it really added a lot of context
mm,
to what was going on. That they were basically just wiped out,
yeah, I never
and like
really got
Isabel's
that.
like one of the only ones left. Because yeah, you're
Huh,
like, where are they? You know, like the Sharians are like running amok all over the place. Like you see their dead
yeah.
corpses all over Act 2. And you're
Yeah.
like, where? And like they apparently killed all the Selenites, but like where are there none left? And it's like, yeah, they know they're gone.
Oh, weird. Yeah, there's so many dead Dark Justiciars down there because of Yerger or whatever his
Hmm.
name was. By the way, you can talk to his chair, his bed that's a bunch of corpses
You
with
can talk
Speak
to
to the
it?
Dead.
Speak to
Yeah,
corpses?
to his bed that's made of
What
corpses,
did
and it's
were they just like, this
terrifying.
sucks?
It was kind of like, in oh, I don't want to spoil that game. Maybe I won't say it. There's a certain indie game where there's a big clump of corpses. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like, help us. Like they were just like
Oh
a bunch of
god.
voices that are like, ah. But yeah, it's something I didn't realize. Maybe they patched this. I can't remember, but they now when you do Speak to the Dead, if a body's green, you can talk to it. If it's not green, you can't.
It was a little confusing because they'd be
Yeah.
like, this body's too mangled, and you're like, I don't know, looks fine to me.
Yeah, but now you just have to like click the spell, and if the corpse is green, you might as well click it because it'll actually talk to you and not just be like, this body is too mangled or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this
I
body
definitely
has
like. I
nothing
feel
to
like I
say.
used it a lot in the beginning, and then toward the end, I just kind of like stopped using it because
Oh,
they
really?
didn't have anything to say.
Sometimes it helps, but mostly it's just like to find treasure. I find
Hmm.
is that mechanic. You'll be like, where,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And they're like, burying my treasure, and I'm like, where is it? They're like, over there, and I'm
So
like,
convenient, thank
I'm
you.
like, okay, bye, and I just go steal their treasure.
That's
That's pretty
so
much it.
funny.
Yeah.
I really liked it was I still can't believe how like incredibly spooky they went with this chapter with
Yeah.
the like the House of Healing, and you go in there and you find out that they're not like I really wanted the House of Healing nurses outfits
Yeah.
so bad. I was like literally like combing through that place. I was trying to pickpocket them, like trying to find their outfits because like I wanted to wear it so badly.
They
Like
do
what
look
do I
cute.
have to do?
They're like such dedicated nurses. I felt bad. Like I didn't view them as evil. They were like, I'm really trying, and I'm like, good job. Like
And they're like stab stab stab.
I was kind of gaslighting them a bit when they were like, I was like, you're doing a really good job. Like Arabella's parents, when they're like
Yes.
dead in the cots, they're like, they're just having a sleep
They're
right now, and I was like, you're so right, girl. Like good job. She's like, thank
they'll be
you, and
back
like leaves the
anytime.
room, and I'm like, oh god, she's horrible. But that was a bummer, eh? The Arabella stuff.
I really liked finding Arabella and then like giving her to Withers, who was basically her babysitter for the entire
Yeah.
chapter.
Why
Like,
did she
talk
hang out
about
with
Withers
him?
being like not the dad who was there, but the dad who stepped up. I was like, he's like, oh yeah, like she had like wild magic, and he was like, I'm gonna take care of her, and then they were just like always together.
And
He
he
like
was saying
coached her through her own grief. I thought that was
he was Joel.
beautiful.
He was Joel in this game. Like
Yeah,
that was his role. He every time she was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be okay, he would just be like, you have to be. And she's like, okay.
yeah,
And they just like got through it. And she just stood near him. I'm like, you should go hang out with Carlac. She's way more fun. And she was like, no, I like Withers and just hung out
yeah.
with Withers.
He had some really good lines with her.
Yeah, it was cute. They like genuinely, I thought they were like very sweet together, which was the
I was kind
weirdest
of
pairing ever.
disappointed because she does end up leaving. I don't know if it's the end of Act 2 or the start of Act 3, but she's like,
Mm.
"It's time for me to go and like spread my wings," and I'm like,
It must be Act 3
"Okay."
because she was hanging out at my camp the whole time.
Yeah, she just like once you get to Baldur's Gate, she's like, "I'm off
Yeah. Okay.
away.
To
I'm gonna
just
learn
go live
magic."
her life.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm gonna go learn magic. I guess that's my new passion."
She was
But
strong too. And you get that permanent ability, like her ensnare ability. Did you get that?
yeah, which is
That was
I
cool.
think only but you had to like it was a very specific thing you could ensnare. It wasn't
Yeah.
like I don't know if it was
I think
just
it was
like
like
everyone, but it
wraiths or
was useful
something.
for this. Yeah, it was useful for this chapter.
Yeah. I think it was like anything that normally can't be ensnared, you can ensnare now or something
Hmm.
was the vibe. And she seems like a strong little. I'm hoping she comes back in 3 and is like helps me
Mhm.
in some way, kind of like when you free the dog in Resident Evil 4, and later on the
Yeah,
dog's
it
like,
comes back.
"Arr," and like helps you. Yeah, I hope
It
that's
does
her
feel like
vibe.
at this chapter, you're like, I'm noticing a trend of gathering allies, of people who say they are my ally, but when will they come back? And that just
Mm,
kind of like trickles into
for a
Act
big
3.
battle,
And can I
perhaps.
just say that, like, this camp was the worst camp that we ever had to stay at because I think Gale, like, constantly had, like, a wetness debuff on him because, like, his tent was, like, across, like, a little bit of water.
Yeah,
So his
yeah.
feet were, like, constantly red and, like, going over there, you constantly had, like, a weird, like, wetness debuff. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, we could put our tents anywhere else."
He's gonna get
And
like
halfway
grout
into
or
the ocean, yes, he's gonna get, yeah,
like
his
what's
little
that
feets are gonna
disease where your
prune up.
feet?
Trench
Yeah, your
foot.
feet.
Gale's gonna get trench foot.
That's exactly it. He's gonna get trench foot at his camp by a waterfall.
Yeah,
What the heck?
every camp, like, they put them so like on opposite ends, and you're like, where is everybody? Like, could every like Marco Polo like scream if you can hear me because I don't know where you are.
That's one thing I really don't like is I think the camp should be very like tight. Like I think everyone should be
Yeah,
kind of on top of each other because that's the vibe. Like the fact that they're so spread apart, it's giving like a grade 9 camping trip where you don't want to like have to talk to everybody. You kind of want to spread out a bit and like only talk to like
yeah.
one other tent near you. And I'm like,
Mhm.
but we're all friends at this point. Like you all are supposedly like allies and like trust each other and stuff, but they don't like that's the only thing I don't like. I don't think people talk to each other enough, like unless I'm also there. Like I want to walk up
Yeah.
to them talking more, like kind of like Red Dead 2. Like every time you came to camp, like
A Red
everyone was
Dead 2
talking.
Baldur's Gate 3 camp would be
Perfect.
incredible.
Like a chapter 2 Red Dead 2. Like the one that's like right on the hill and they're all
Yeah.
happy. Like that's exactly what the vibe I want. Where you walk up and 2 of them are playing dominoes, you're like cute, and like someone else is
Mhm.
cooking the food and with a bowl waiting. Like I wish they had done more of that. I think that would have made it more atmospheric, but like they also did 1,000 trillion other things, so I can't be too mad.
It also gets like really depressing when you're like playing the Dark Urge run and like you've killed a lot of people, and then there's just like 1, 2, 3 tents.
And they're still
And you're
very
like
separated.
and they're all still, like, really spread out. They don't, like there's no, like, fill in, like, their tents go where they go, and you're like, "Where is everybody? It's a little empty in here.
Oh, that's
Where'd
awkward around
everybody
the
go?"
campfire at
Yeah.
nighttime. You're just murdering everybody. I'm really
It's the
intrigued by
urge.
Dark Urge playthrough. I like that that's the natural next step. Anytime someone finishes this game is now it's time for the dark. Like now I'm a
Mhm.
bad kid now. I'm gonna do
I've heard
everything
people
naughty.
who, like, start like, I always start games, like, being, like, my goodest good egg possible. Some
Hmm.
people are the exact opposite. And they're
Yeah.
like, I'm going to like tank everything. I'm going to be so evil and then I'm going to do a good run. And that just feels wrong to me. That feels out
I
of order.
Yeah, because you definitely get more content being a good egg because then
Mhm.
there's just more trees that finish. Whereas evil is like the perfect second playthrough because if
Yeah.
you kill Gale by chopping his arm off, then you don't have to watch the next 20 million Gale scenes. They're gone.
Yeah,
So now
they're
your
gone.
game's shorter. So like of course that's the better second one
Mhm.
because now the game's shorter and it's like a quicker playthrough. It's more
Mhm.
rewarding to just be like, done. I already know what this chapter
Yeah.
happens here, so I can just like fly
I
through
know
it.
all that Gale can offer to me.
Mm.
So his death is meaningless.
Talking about his
But
ex and dying and being
his ex
squishy.
goddess being visited by Albus Dumbledore
Yeah.
telling him he's got a bomb. I never like I never got to the end of that storyline because I basically just like benched Gale for the rest of the game.
Oh.
Apologies to Gale, but I was like, "Look, buddy, there can only be one wizard here, and that's me." So yeah, he got benched. I never blew him up.
Hmm.
I gave him the opportunity to blow up, and it didn't really affect anything.
I didn't tell him to blow up at the end of 2, but I hear that if he blows up, it just like rolls credits anyway. So like you can't really do that
Are you supposed
anyways.
to be able to escape? He's like,
No,
"Yeah, you
like
just run."
if he explodes next to you, you die too.
Oh my god,
You can
that's
also do that
stressful.
ability at any time, and it just like it just says game over. Did you know that?
Shit. If I
You can
had
like
known
click
that, I
on
would
it.
have like blown him up just to see what would happen.
They have a whole cutscene where he like picks up a knife
What?
and he goes like this and it's like really well animated. Like he's like and then he stabs in his heart and then he waits a second and he pushes it fully in and then he explodes and it just says load last save. Like it's really funny because you're just like oh and then he just goes back to before he died and you're just like awkwardly like keep playing. It's like I just
I
watched
like to
Gale
think that like the
implode.
developers know people are like gonna save scum just to see it, you
Mhm.
know? Like,
Mhm.
I like that they're like, yeah, no, like you don't have to like have a whole playthrough just to blow Gale up. Like,
No, you can just do it right
ch-
now. And they
yeah,
could have
you do
easily
whatever
done a
you want.
thing where if you click on that, he says, "I don't think I should do that right now," or like just to like fill the gap until
Ew,
like you could do
it's like
it.
a children's game. Like, are you sure about that? Are
Like
you sure we're
Pajama
supposed to
Sam.
use the hairbrush to brush our teeth?
Literally, but instead he just like fully nukes wherever you are. Like you could just be like walking down a road and you press
Mm.
it and he'll nuke. He won't even say like
Go,
absolute's not even
Gale!
here.
Self-destruct!
Literally, Gale used self-destruct for no reason. There's not even an enemy nearby. You can just go into quick time and explode. And he's like,
Mhm.
okay, he does it for you. The fact that they made that a thing is hilarious to me.
Yeah. And I feel like in this section there's also like the Halsin stuff.
Yeah.
Halsin being like, we gotta save the land. We gotta like figure out why it's doing this and like the nature. The trees are crying, and
Yeah.
it's like a short but like interesting side quest.
Yeah. That fight where
But
you're
it's
protecting the portal, hardest fight in the chapter, I thought.
oh, I had a lot of CC, so I just like threw all my CC down,
Oh,
my crowd
I
control, and then Shadowheart Beybladed around. I literally just stood in front of the portal and I used like the knockback thunder wave to just
smart.
knock the enemies off into the water.
That's
So they
smart.
would crawl up and I'd be like, bam, bam. But then at the very end of the fight, I had Avard's black tentacles out, which like does like I had the tentacles, I had the knives, I had like the moonlight, like it was
It was a gauntlet.
it was a gauntlet of things that could kill you. Okay?
Yeah.
And then Halsin like pops out of the portal and he's like, I got him, you guys. Thanks so much for helping. And then he runs off and hits every single AoE. I was sprinting after him. I was screaming. I had Shadowheart healing him. He made it to the other side with like 5 fucking health and he did not stop running. He
Amazing.
literally just kept going. And I was like, please, 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 you're like, stop, you're dying.
He didn't die though. He got through.
No, he made it through with literally 5 health, and I was terrified because I did not want to have to play that fight over again.
I'm weak. That's so funny. Yeah, I failed that fight like several times in a row.
Oh
And if you
god.
fail it, they just go, "Oh, guess he's dead." So I'm like, obviously, I'm
Yeah!
not gonna let that happen. Like, I'm gonna go back and do it. But I
Well,
had to whip out Gale
that's
for
a
that
real
because
shame.
I needed more
Yeah.
AOE. Like
Yeah,
he's kind of
Gale would be
necessary
good.
there. Yeah.
You
So I
need
did Wall of
Fireball.
Fire. Yeah, exactly. I did
Mhm.
right at the entrance. I had
Yep.
Shadowheart with her Beyblade. I had another Wall of Fire because my druid knew it on the
Mhm.
second step. So they literally had to go like step fire, and then I had Lae'zel in the front lines getting the archers because they were the ones
Mhm.
doing the damage. They were just destroying the
Yeah.
portal from afar. And then I also did ensnare and grease. Like I had every
Yeah.
slowdown thing, and that was the only way I could do it.
It's a
Otherwise,
fun fight because it really makes you use spells. Like there's not a lot
yeah,
of like big fights with a lot of enemies. It's usually just like one baddie, and then you
yeah,
can't use any of your AoE spells because what are you gonna do? Like hit your teammates?
yeah.
So
No,
I thought as a wizard it was a fun fight because you do just
yeah.
kind of like set up a bunch of traps. But yeah, then Halsin ran through it.
It felt really different from other fights. Yeah, it was like I had
Mhm.
to re-strategize and rethink because I was doing my Karlach Lae'zel like duo
Mhm.
attack, and they just didn't have enough turns to kill everybody, and then they just
Yeah.
destroyed the portal in 2 seconds.
But then it
But
like it goes into a weird after you get him out, he's like looking for like Thaniel, and Thaniel has like two sides. I wasn't following along that well at this point, but it literally turns into like a horror movie where you go into like that decrepit house and there's like a ghost in there. And it's
hmm
like, I want to play with you. And I was like, whoa, like we're entering big evil child energy here.
I did Oliver first, and then learned about Thaniel. So like
Oh.
when Halcyon was like, "I need if you see anybody out there who looks like a child," I was like, "You mean the one
Where do
child
you
I've ever
find
encountered?"
him?
He was just in the same house, like that weird house on the side
Oh, okay.
near like He Who Was, like the guy with the white raven. It's kind of like
Mm.
near there. And he just wanted to play hide and seek with me. So I did. And then he was like he spawned these wraiths that I had to stealth around, but I had Karlach and Lae'zel, so it did not work. And then they spotted
I
me and
did
I fought
not do
them.
that.
Oh, interesting. So like if you don't do that first when you meet Oliver, he just what does he say?
I don't remember where I got this like sassy lost child. Like I know Halson, I had to do a bunch of stuff with this guy who was passed out at the inn.
Yeah. Yes. Art. Whatever.
Yeah, and then I don't know where because I don't remember like a white raven or a man who was. I literally just got Daniel, and then Halson's like, I have Oliver. He like picks him up.
Oh,
And
what?
I don't like
Oh.
I don't remember what this raven. He literally was like, you want
No,
this
the
is what you're
Raven's
looking
a
for?
different thing. But Oliver was like next to him. Like when you
Oh,
first
okay.
come in, the Harpers are all like, fight with us, and you can
Okay,
go to
I
the
must have
last night
found him
in.
and just totally forgot about it.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. There's like on the left side, there's the guy, who has like a white raven, and he's like a necromancer too. And he's bringing up a corpse to like put it on trial. Did you do any of this?
What?
Yeah.
No.
It's super cool. It was actually like a really fun one. So like, and you can like choose to do different things with it. So he wants,
Who the hell is this?
I think he's one of those pain guys. He's like a pain baddie.
Oh.
He wants to he loves experiencing pain. So he wanted to resurrect this corpse to put her on trial because she betrayed her friends to the Dark Justiciars and got them killed,
Mhm.
and then she died
Oh.
herself. So they kind of frame it as like, he wants to put her on trial for justice, but he wants to bring her back to like up from the dead to go on trial because he wants to feel her pain. He wants to feel her guilt and like shame for
Oh.
killing her
He's like,
friends.
I really want to experience like the
He's
worst
getting like a
somebody could
rut.
feel.
He heard like the worst situation ever. He's like, I want to feel her pain, and he just wanted me to
God.
help him do that. But he phrased it as like she needs to go to trial for betraying her friends. So when you go to the tavern, there's like a plank of wood, and you lift it up, and it has the proof that that's what she did. And then if you raise her up, she's like, I didn't know they were gonna kill them. Like they said to report anything, and I was scared, so I reported it.
Mhm.
And they said they were just gonna talk to them. So you kind of like empathize with her a little bit. You're like, oh, that
Oh.
whatever. And then he's like, do you want her to get punished or not? And then you can like decide. And if you
I think
punish
I
her,
saw
he's like, yeah. He like
he's like,
loves
that's
it.
what I wanted you to say. I think I found a book where she like it I found a book that in the bar that like the guy you outdrink is in, and it was like basically
Yes.
saying it was the report book, and she was like, don't worry, I'll take it from here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can like bring that back and it's the proof to put her on trial.
That's crazy. I wonder how I totally missed that. I'm looking at it on the map now, and I'm like, how did I just like not go there?
It is kind of in a little nook. Like it's like a one path on the left. Like you're very
Yeah.
encouraged to go right when you come in because that's where the inn is. And it's like tucked in the top left.
And it's
It's
right
like,
toward the beginning too.
yeah. So like like that would be like the one area I feel like might be skippable. So it's like fair that you skipped it. But then Oliver's right next to it too, so that you would have missed him. But he's like in a little house.
I
And
wonder if I just like got to Oliver and then just like turned around and went back.
he didn't want to talk to a kid.
I don't know. I got him because I did the whole like Daniel fight where he's in his little bubble
Yeah,
and you just get to beat up a kid for
when he's
free.
near the fountain or whatever in Town
Yeah.
Square. Oh, interesting. So you missed that whole bit. Yeah, you can like have a whole combo with him, and he like kind of likes you. And then
At
you
the
can
end
do
he
that
liked
fight
me, and I
later.
was like, you have to go back to your friend. I basically I beat him up, and I was like, you have to go back to your friend and
Oh,
you can play with
interesting.
him, and he was like, okay, lady. And then
Yeah,
he went
no,
back to his friend.
if you play with him first, he's like, "You're my friend who played with me," and he like he probably listens to you a little bit better, maybe.
That's so weird, cause yeah, I couldn't. Maybe yeah. Once again, I think I attacked first and asked questions later in this playthrough.
hmm
I was like, look, we're not. We all know how this is gonna end. Let's just
Did
cut to the chase.
Did you try to see if Thorm could be redeemed at all? You know how it kind of gave you some
I
prompts.
think
It's
I
like,
tried.
"Hey,
Yeah, I tried
listen."
to redeem him, but I think he is irredeemable.
He's irredeemable. I tried also.
Yeah.
Every prompt to try to like save him. He's like, "No." And he just like gets mad and still
Yeah.
kills you, tries to kill you anyways.
How did your prison break go when like cuz you get to the Harpers and they basically like they're like, "Hey, you have to help us
Yeah.
because you're here and we say so." And they're like, "Break our friends out of the prison because you're the only ones who can go in." How did your prison break go?
Really well, like without a hitch. And I didn't
You
look
didn't
up
have to fight
anything.
anybody?
No, it was great. Like I went in and all I was doing was just exploring. Like I was just going around and like looking at everything, and they were like, "Come into the prison." Like I couldn't believe it. I thought I was gonna have to sneak. There was no sneaking. And I
Yeah.
was just like I just happened to be like looking at everything I could find. So I found the boat in the back, and it
Mhm.
was like I tried to like hop on the boat, and it was like, "Oh, this boat is attached with ropes." And so I was like, "Can I attack the ropes?" So I attacked the ropes and it undid the ropes. So I was like, "Oh, so clearly I have to lead them to this boat. Like I just knew that.
Yeah, you already like set it up.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so how do I get them here? So I saw in the little prison area there was the switches, but like that girl was just like standing there. So I'm like, okay, so that's gonna be
Mm.
hard to like get everyone. And then while I was back there, I saw the crumbling wall. So first I hit the crumbling wall, and then the two halflings ran, but I hadn't even talked to them yet. They were like, yip wee, and they just like ran away. And I was like, oh, what the hell? Like, what? Who are you even?
I accidentally instigated a prison break. Oopsie whoopsie.
But I thought it was the tieflings. I was like, who even are these two? And it kind of felt like I'd missed something. So I actually I like went back a bit, and before I destroyed that wall, I talked to them in front. And some
Hmm.
girl came up and was like, "You're not allowed to talk to them." And I was like, "Yes, I am." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And like just let me talk to them. But then he was like, "If you like save me, like give me something to unlock the door." But I already knew that I could open the back, so I was like, "Oh, cool." So I like didn't. So then I went and talked to the tieflings, and they're like, "Talk to the halflings. They're helping us too." So I was like, "Okay, obviously I go back here." So then when I opened the door, their wall in the back, then they were more like, "There you are, thank goodness," not just like they didn't just scamper away
Not
with
just like,
no.
see you, nerd.
I was like, "Who are you even? Like, what is happening?" And then when I got rid of the tieflings wall, they all just got in the boat and like no one even cared. And then like I remember I came back later and the person who ran the prison was like, "I'm so boned." And she was like really upset. I was like, she's like, "I don't know what happened."
I
And
didn't
she's like,
even see. I went
"How
up
did
and
you
I
do
talked
it?"
to like the deep gnomes, and they were like, "We want to get out of here," and I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna get you out." And they're like, "Can you give us like a tool or something so we can chip through this wall?" And you
Yeah.
literally had to give them like an object. I gave them like I had a hammer. Like I literally went and got them a hammer, and I was like, "Here's this hammer," and they're like, "Okay, like distract the guards for us. We're gonna break out." And I made it like, I tried to go talk to a guard, and I really gave it my all, and then they busted out, and then it just immediately into combat.
Oh, I avoided
Immediately
all
into
combat.
combat, yeah.
So
I had
after
to kill
that,
all of them.
after
I
that,
didn't
when you
lose
went back
anybody.
up, was everyone aggro, or were they like, I don't know what happened on the prison, they like treated you normal up top?
No, I think it's because they didn't witness it. Like, I
Yeah.
managed to kill everybody in the prison, and they were like, "Something weird happened in the prison."
I haven't
And
heard
I
from
was
the
like,
prison people in a while.
"Yeah, I haven't been, like, getting their emails lately about the prisoner updates. It's so weird."
No, I actually kind of felt bad because yeah, the person who ran the prison was like with her head in her hands. She was like in her office, and I like went up to talk to her, and she was like, "I'm gonna get killed. Like I'm so
Mhm.
screwed because like everyone's gone, and I have no idea how it happened." I'm like, "Well, check the walls in the back are exploded. Like maybe that might be an
That's weird that
indication of
they
how
didn't,
they
like
got."
they weren't like, the crumbling infrastructure on this castle hasn't been updated in decades.
Yeah, and yeah, no one aggroed until like the final fight. That's so interesting that you could like just fight the prison people right away. This
Yeah,
game's
and it
crazy.
sucks because if they hit one of the prisoners, they can, like, insta-kill the tieflings. So, like
Mm,
and then, because they're NPCs, so, like, their automatic reaction is to, like, get injured.
yeah.
Like, they're not the fastest, and they're not the smartest. So, yeah, they would literally just, like, run past and, like, get opportunity attacked if you didn't
Oh.
try to like, get as many as possible. I
Did
didn't
you
lose
didn't lose
anybody.
any? Okay,
No, I
that's
didn't lose any,
trophy.
but I watched somebody else, like, accidentally get all their prisoners slaughtered.
Oh dear, that was like me with
Yeah.
the deep gnomes in the last area, the Gym
Yeah.
Forge,
We
Grim
can only we
Forge.
can only do our best. There will be casualties.
Yeah. Did they get in the
Like with
boat
that,
still though?
they did get in the boat, but like when I
Okay.
got there, they were like sawing the ropes. And so
Oh.
like I ran back there and I was like, why are we still in combat? And they're like sawing the ropes and I was like, okay, well Carlock will just go cut those for you. And then we boated away. We scooted away into the and I'm surprised that we were able to scoot away because it was like a rowboat.
Yeah. And like you would assume that there was other boats,
I'm like, no one's watching.
enemy.
No one's
Yeah.
watching this suspicious boat
Why
full
is there
of
a boat
tiny
in the back of the
gnomes.
prison also?
Yeah.
Like you're giving them an out. It's a poorly
Yeah.
orchestrated ordeal, I think. Like
Mhm.
they really just thought about the roof and nowhere
Yeah.
else in that entire tower.
I mean, like, when you get there for the final fight, I didn't poke around too much before, like, on the upper levels, but, like, the entire thing is, like, dilapidated.
Yeah. It's like it's crumbling. You don't even
Yeah.
fight too long up there, honestly. They're like, fight me for 2 seconds and jump down this hole.
Mhm.
It's like, okay,
I
that's
did
fine.
have a little bit, like, in that first fight where they funnel you through the hallway, I did get, like, Hunger of Hadard, or what when you first walk
Oh,
in with, like, Jahira and all the Harpers,
Yes.
Like, you literally have to spend, like, 5 turns just walking in,
Yeah.
which was really annoying, and then, like, you'd get, like, AoE'd or, like, Hunger of Hadard, and, like, the entire like, you're all standing in this giant circle, and everyone's just, like, fighting for their lives, like, many lives were lost in that
A
battle.
lot of Harpers died. Like, a lot of Harpers died. I felt kind of bad. Again,
I
hoping it
tried
wasn't a
my
Kevin.
best, but, like, I tried my best, but I don't think they were sending their best when it came to the Harpers.
They were
No
fodder a little
heroes.
bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. They were fodder a little bit. But, I mean, that fight wasn't too bad. Did you befriend the, what were those wolves called? Did they help you in the fight?
Oh, the Knolls? Nars?
Knolls. Yeah.
Knolls?
I
No,
think you're
because
right.
they were really annoying. Because I didn't, like, explore the castle completely before the fight. Because I was afraid if
Mm,
I went in, it would, like, initiate the fight.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, no, they were against me. I had to basically kill everybody.
Oh, they
It's a
helped
little
me. It was cute.
annoying.
Like, cause there
Yeah,
was
they were tough.
yeah, there was someone in the kitchen area was like was revealed that she was like controlling it with her worm, and she was like teaching it how
Mm,
to talk and stuff, and I could either like be like, wow, cool, that's a neat trick, or I could like sever the connection, and if you sever the connection, then the wolf or the knoll attacks her, kills her, and no one cares. Like there's like other people in the room and they're like, huh, they like go back to cooking. I was like, ooh. And then after that he like turns to you and he's like gonna kill you, and you can be like, hey, remember who freed you? And he goes, thank you, and like walks away. It was kind of cute. I was like, that's nice.
remember, I'll see you later.
And then later on they help, and they were decently good at helping. Like they killed like a lot of all the archers that were bothering me on the left side. They
Yeah.
took them out for me. It was nice.
Yeah, that was I think I had to redo that fight a few times because like Jahira also would kept casting. Like at one point, I think you get to control her, but at one point, like she only really has like an ice spell, or like someone casts an ice spell. One of the
Yeah.
Harpers literally casts like frost, and you're like all skating all over the place and like falling over each other. You're like in Hunger of Hadar and then in frost, and you're blind at the same time. Like
It was a mess.
it was not a good. It was a bad fight for me, but I did get out, and then I stuck. Did you stick your arm in like the castle Lissy?
Yeah, I
That was
did.
wild.
That was crazy. I didn't expect that to be like the thing I'm fighting, just like hanging out in the crack in the wall. I thought I was gonna get a sword or something. And it was like,
Yeah,
hi,
I don't.
I'm the antagonist. I was like,
Yeah, you're the absolute, right? They
yeah,
basically are like, I'm the absolute. I don't remember at this point if you knew that you were fighting a mother brain,
I
like a
think I
giant
did
brain at this point.
at this. Oh, did
Yeah.
I? I can't remember either.
Because
I
I
was
don't think that's like the
surprised.
big reveal at the end, right? When like the villains like jump on the large brain and like,
Hmm.
we away on our large brain that we control.
Yeah, and it's like just floating in the sky, and everyone's like, cool. How
Tentacles
are
and
we?
all.
I don't get how we get to Baldur's Gate before them. That's like I haven't entered Baldur's Gate, but they like float to Baldur's Gate, and then the
Yeah.
next scene started with me like entering
I
there,
think
and they're.
you're right outside Baldur's Gate in that scene.
But why aren't they there before me if they're
I
also
think they
there?
are. They're already there.
I'm not far enough in Act 3 to
I
know what's
think
going
you
on.
get there before the army, or like
Gotcha.
right after the army gets there.
Yeah. What did you think about the reveal that your brain friend is a mind flayer?
Oh, because of my trust issues, I already didn't trust him, and
I
then I
remember
kind of had
that.
like a feeling that he was a mind flayer, and then he was like, "I'm a mind flayer," and I was like,
But he was a chill mind flayer.
"He wasn't." He's like, "But I'm a good mind flayer," and like immediately
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I'll have plenty. I have a lot to say about Act 3 because I definitely did not trust the Emperor. I was
I'm
like,
very curious
there's a
about
lot
him.
in this game where it's like they don't feed into my distrust. Like my distrust like doesn't pay off a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like I think it would, but it doesn't. So I guess my lesson from Baldur's Gate is that I should be more trusting
I
of
saw
others.
when I learned that, I was like, Sarah was right. I remember thinking to myself, I was like, Sarah knew. Like that not to be trusted. I thought that was a cool twist, and the fact that like he had been living in the world as like a chill mind flayer with like a
Yeah.
hood on. Like that's really cool. Like
But I
he
like how he was like,
tackled it.
I escaped the mother brain because I was just cool like that. I was just built different. And you're
I'm
like,
built different, yeah.
okay.
Sure.
I was
And
just cool like that.
and the prince stuff, like the Yankee prince, had you been
Mm-hmm.
finding the little stories about him as you went along with with Lae'zel.
Oh, the discs?
Yeah.
Is there, yeah, the discs you can translate?
Yeah.
There were surprising a lot of, like, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's and like she explains each one very diligently and like because I always had her in my party, so like whenever I picked one up, she's like chapter 2, and she just like started reading it for me, and I was like perfect. But so I knew he was coming back. Why the heck? And they even had it as like a
Hmm.
side mission. It was like find out more about the prince, and I was like okay, so the
Yeah.
prince is coming, showing up here. But when we finally saw him, Lae'zel like didn't even like get that surprise. I was like, "Oh my god, look!" And she's like, "It's the prince." I was like, "This completely ruins your entire worldview. Are you not like
Are
surprised?"
you
like,
not? Oh, like this is supposed to be shattering everything you
yeah,
know. No,
because
that's
every
very in character
story
for her.
she told before was like, "The prince isn't real. He died. It's so
Hmm.
obvious he died." And then you like see him face to face. She's like, "I guess he's there." And I'm like,
And
"Girl,
they're
like
like,
have a
isn't the
reaction."
emperor literally like, it's the prince?
Yeah, you say
He's
who's in
like,
the bubble, and he like confirms it.
yeah,
Yeah, she literally is like, I don't see it. Like she like closes her eyes and plugs her ears and leaves the
yeah.
area.
During the castle fight, did you like rest at all? I was too afraid to long rest. I
I
literally
long
just like,
I did. I long
I took
rested.
my
Yeah.
ass. I took from like the fight in the beginning all the way up to Ketherick
Yeah.
without any like long rests. And it was like by the end of it, I had like no spells left, and I was just
Oh my
going off
gosh.
hopes and dreams.
They had that area in the under like, down where it was all mind flayery, and there was like
Hmm.
the bugbear who was
I
just
long rested
chopping.
before that.
Okay.
Between like killing or between like Ketherick storming into his, underground layer of mind flayers, I long rested.
Okay. That sounds like what I did too. And then they had that little thing right before the big final fight where you could like refresh and then hop on the elevator
Yeah.
and go over. That's like
I
how I
wish it
did
was
it.
more obvious like when it was safe to long rest versus like
Yeah.
when it wasn't. Cause I was like, am I making this like hard for no reason? And I
Yeah.
thought like I was like, okay, it's gonna be okay because like Ayland will help us.
Mhm.
She got bodied in
She's a little squishy.
it's just I think they should like I feel like she might have been like overpowered at one point, and then the developers like were like, we have to like she can't
Yeah.
carry the fight, like the player still has to feel like they're in control. But I think she literally got bodied.
I think what they should have
They
done was like she's trapped in some way and only you can only get her out to do like the final huge crazy smash and she seems crazy powerful is like
Mhm.
killing like getting Thorm to like whatever health left. And then he like
Yeah.
slips up and lets her out. I think that would have been better because I was really excited. She got let loose and she was flying around. I was like, "Oh, you're screwed, dude. Like
Yeah.
this is like I did everything right.
I
Here
was
she
like,
is."
I'm gonna get there and Catherick's gonna be apparently if you don't show up right away, like if you don't go straight to the tower afterwards, you'll just get there and like Aelin will be dead.
What?
Like
How
if
do
you
they
long
deter
rest too much, like Aelin's just dead because she's like up there.
too much as in like more than once, you think?
I don't know
Cuz
because
how do
I
they
just
judge
kind of
that?
like I like hustled my bustle. I was like, oh god, oh shit. Like Aelin's like flying away, and I'm like, wait, I'm not there yet. Wait.
Yeah, because like how do they judge that? Because that kind of goes against what we've been taught about the game. Like
Yeah.
where we're at the when we're at the building that's on fire, they're like, "Don't long rest." It's like, well, the
Yeah.
logic should like she can wait. Can she wait 12 hours? Probably
No,
not.
she literally goes right in. She's all in immediately.
So like how come we can long rest once and not twice? Then it's
I don't
considered
know.
too
Maybe it's like
that's
if
a
you
little
literally go somewhere else to do something, but yeah, that was one of the things where I was like reading about when to not long rest, and it was like after you free or like when you before you go to like after you free Aelin, like do not long rest. She will die. And I was like, okay, like you don't have to
Oh
tell
my
me
god.
twice.
I only long rested once, so I guess it just worked out and I got there and she was
Yeah.
just being
I
held
think
in
you
the
can long
corner.
rest like at least once, but yeah, like I was like, I'm not gonna lose you. I had to work
Yeah.
really hard to make sure that Shadowheart wouldn't kill you. She broke up
Oh
with
my
me 3
god.
times.
For you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was hoping she'd be stronger. But like yeah, that must be a hard balance where if she's too
Yeah.
strong the fight's just over. And this is like the
It was
crescendo of Act 2.
it was kind of embarrassing though how bad she was in a fight. Like she
I
literally
know.
went all in and then she ended up like
She did like
prone
10
multiple
damage.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. She
I
got
was
like
like, "Oh,
tricked into fighting me for a bit. Like
they
they did a
charmed her?"
spell. Yeah,
Oh
and
my
she turned around and
god.
started hitting
What are
Lae'zel.
her stats?
And I was like, "Girl, I literally just worked for 120 hours to get you on my side and you're going to have one spell. You're a daughter
Yeah,
of a
do me.
god. You
Yeah,
think you'd
that's
be
what I'm
immune to
saying.
spells and stuff. I don't know,
I
something."
know. I chalk it up to her being like stuck in a basement for 1,000 years or some
Mhm.
shit. And I'm like, I don't know.
She hasn't seen her girlfriend in a long time. She's a little
Yeah,
sad.
and then I assume you talked to Jahira and like convinced her to join your party.
Yeah, she's in my party now. I'm not
It's
probably
weird that
never gonna use her.
you're like, will you jump down this like this weird looking butthole with me? And she's like, no,
Yeah, she
I'm
wouldn't
not
come.
going into the Nautilus butthole with you. And you're like, damn,
But then
guess
she's
I'm
like,
by
but
myself.
I'll hang out with you later. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
she's like, I'll be at your camp after you do whatever it is you need to do
The
here.
hard part, the like
Yeah,
actual fight. I didn't find that fight too crazy. Did you have to reload? Like, did you have to try a few times, or was it
you mean
straightforward?
the
The
final Thorm
Thorm,
fight?
like right, like in the
No,
basement of the basement.
I tried to plan it out really well where like I was behind all the skeletons to kind of like knock them out, and
They were
then I had
annoying.
somebody sneak over to Aelin. It was really hard. You had to like sneak and use like an invisibility potion. They like sneaked up right to Aelin, so when the fight started, they were literally next to her and you
Yeah,
could like free her turn 1. And yeah,
smart.
and then we just kind of like beat shit out of him.
Mm. It was the skeletons on the left that really freaking annoyed me because Lae'zel's the only one who I have Misty Step on, and I have Misty Step on her twice,
Oh.
so
Yeah,
she can do
I
two
literally I
Misties.
started up there. Like I like snuck
Smart.
up 'cause there's a ladder and I started up there because I knew they were gonna be annoying.
Yeah. See, they like were pummeling me, and I was focusing too much on just like Thorm in his weird body, like in the center
Hmm.
when he turns into a monster. So I like I had to like take Gale and get up there, but he's so like he walks like 10 feet. But like I needed my other people to fight Thorm, otherwise he would just
Yeah,
kill me also. And there's also wraiths appearing every 2 seconds, and mind flayers also were fighting
yeah.
me. So honestly, like I found this basic ass skeletons over on the left with like a couple bows was the most annoying thing because I
They can
couldn't
be
get to them
really
properly.
annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Night Song fight too. I guess you didn't technically have to do it because you fought Balthazar so early. He has a
Hmm.
lot of little skeletons up in corners too, and that made it really annoying.
Oh, I didn't realize that would have been a fight.
It's like a
You
big
know, he was already
fight,
dead.
and he pushes you right like you get pushed right off the edge because you know how
Yes,
like it's like a
you're on like this
like a
tiny little platform.
yeah, and there's like it's just the abyss below, and it's
I
like
feel like enemies in this game really do take advantage of pushing you off the edge in a way that like upsets me because it's like they usually
yeah.
get to push you before you can push them.
Yeah, oh my god, no. They like totally like whatever the coding is for prioritizing attacks, they prioritize push off edge above
Yes, if there's
every
an edge
single
and you're near
thing.
it, then you're gone.
They sprint and they go and they try, and that's what happened. I entered that fight, and then my main character got pushed into the hole, and I was like, okay, reload. Like I cannot start the
That's
fight a
so.
person
I
down.
feel like that's so embarrassing. It is. It's really
Full
embarrassing
health.
when you get pushed because yeah, there is no coming back from it.
No, it's just you're just like, oop, and no one saw
Yep.
that. F8.
That's yeah, F8. But the Nautiloid nest under the castle was really interesting.
Did
I
you do all
feel
the side
like
stuff down there?
there was one puzzle down there that I missed. Like I
Oh,
just
the
didn't.
like connect the brain parts one?
Yeah, I didn't do
Mm-hmm.
that one, and that didn't really affect anything going forwards. But I was like, dang,
Did you talk to the heads in that little
the little memory
talkie,
thing.
the memory bank? Yeah.
Apparently, because there's the bunch on the Nautiloid in the beginning, those little
Yeah.
brains, and I didn't keep those. I sold them.
Yeah.
But if you still have them with you at this point, you can also do those brains too.
Yeah, I
Did you
didn't do
have
those
them?
brains. I didn't
Yeah.
have those ones. But I found there's like 5 in the area that were just like hanging out. And then if you do that puzzle, there's one more brain behind the big door. And if you talk
Secret
to
brain?
that one, yeah, if you talk to that one, it's like someone who's aware of what's happening to them. And they're like, hey, listen. And they have like a deal for you. And you can like,
What was the deal?
well, I'm trying to remember because that was the one thing I kind of forget. Because, you know, I'm so stupid. The other thing I was doing in this is I was down there and I was an owlbear druid. Like I was my druid and I was an owlbear. And I was
Hmm.
walking up to things trying to
As you
interact with
do.
them. I was being so dumb.
Were you
I was
like
like,
attacking them?
no, I was like clicking on like buttons. And and when you're changed into an animal, it just says you can't interact with this right now. Like the narrator says that like you can't touch this right now.
Mm,
And I thought it meant
you just
something
can't touch it.
hasn't
Period.
happened. It was because I was an
Mm-hmm.
owl bear. So I went and did a bunch of stuff, and I found like Melzora or whatever in her
Yeah.
capsule, and I was like trying to press on the thing to like let her out, and it was like you can't do that right now, and I was like what the hell? And I almost went to the next area without freeing her, which apparently kills Will. apparently, because if
Oh
she
my
dies, he goes
god.
back down to hell. So I like went and I was running around, and then I like changed out of an owlbear and realized I could press buttons, and I was like, oh my god. So then I had to go back around the whole
And do it
area and
all
try
over
all
again.
again. Because I forgot that's I was trying to do the brain puzzle, and I was like, I clearly can do this. What the heck? And I googled it, and it was like, no, it works. Like there's no known bug associated with this puzzle currently or something.
And there is
And then
no like check to make sure you're not an owlbear.
no one was like, are you an owlbear? Like in a Reddit thread.
Are
And it
you
was
trying to press
until
buttons with your
it wasn't
giant meaty
until
paws?
I thought for 2 seconds, and I was like, I'm an owlbear, and I like immediately like turned off my druid power, and I could press whatever I wanted. I was like, oh my god! I probably spent 3 hours extra in that area because I was just
And you're
running
like, there's
around.
got to be a secret here. There's got to
I
be a
had to
puzzle that
talk to
I'm missing.
somebody. Yeah, a room I haven't looked at that's like, now you can
And it
press all
was
the
quite
buttons.
literally, you're just an owlbear.
I was just being so stupid running around like with my
That's
paws, like trying to
hilarious.
press buttons and
Why
missing
isn't it
because of.
working?
But yeah, what was that
Yeah.
deal? Let me Google it.
I
Head.
really liked in this game or this part you find like the us again. It's like if you free the brain in the beginning, you find it again. Remember in the very beginning on the Nautiloid, you rip that
Oh,
person's brain out?
the one in the cage. That was the same brain?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
cute. Oh, I
Because
love
then it
it.
was like its name was like us, and I don't know. It doesn't. You get it as a summons if you free it, but like I never used it because it's like not a great summons.
It's
But
weak.
it's
It's
cute
kind of
that you're
weak.
reunited after all this time. I was like, this
That
is
is nice.
beautiful.
I do love that. That's cute. I didn't realize that it was the same one. I thought it was just like a different one. Oh
Hmm.
my god. One sec. I have to turn off.
And then you also free the tiefling guard leader, and you have to like hype him up because he's depressed that everybody died.
Oh
Like all
yeah.
the tieflings that got kidnapped, he's like sad again.
What's his name again?
I don't remember it.
There's so many. I'm
Tiefling
trying.
guard leader.
I'm
Yeah,
trying. Is there
Mazora's
anyone?
really funny that she's just been trapped the entire time.
She's just
And
hanging out in there.
she was like too proud to admit that she was trapped.
The head. What do I even Google to find this? I Googled head deal in Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3 memory, brain memory or something?
The Waking Mind. That's what it's called. Waking Mind deal. Baldur's Gate 3. If anyone in chat knows what I'm talking about and can tell me before I figure this out, that would be amazing. Mine belongs to a Githzeria, which is like a Githyanki but different. Can
Oh.
give the speaker a permanent advantage on all intelligence saving throws if the player agrees to their request. And I don't think I did. I said no. But
I wonder what the request was.
it was like she like imprints her power into you. So she'll say, "Let me like essentially." It kind of was the
Oh,
vibe.
she
That
wants you to like share her mind or something? Like
she wants you to like take it. Like she doesn't want to be
Mm.
thinking anymore. I think it's like pretty torturous to be like a brain in a jar
Mhm.
for all eternity. And because she's like this special Githyanki race, she's like aware that she's still a brain in a jar instead of all the other brains that you put in are like,
Mhm.
where am I, mommy? And it's like a kid who like still thinks they're a kid, and it's like really depressing. And you're like, "Bleh," and you like
Yeah.
take the brain out really fast. This one is like, help me! Oh my god, this is so freaking boring. I've literally just
I'm
been sitting
still
here.
cognizant. Kill me.
Yeah. So I think the deal was that if you like take her brain, it like kills her and stops her consciousness, and you get that intelligence buff, or you could just like straight up kill her and not take her or leave her or something. But I felt a little bit iffy, and I said no, and I was like, no, I don't want the intelligence buff because I
Did
already
you
had
kill her?
like. I think I just kind of left it. I can't remember.
You
Why is this the
doomed
one?
her to an eternity as a brain in a pit?
Maybe I killed her. Why is this the one thing I can't remember what I did? Because I was just like mad that I had wasted 3 hours and I was rushing through.
As a bear,
probably,
yeah.
As a bear. But it was like a weird,
There's
like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a pretty small area. It's not like the Underdark, you know. It's a
No.
pretty small area.
not
I
big.
was confused when you get to like the 3 evil people and they're like chatting in that room together and they all seem like caricatures of things. I
Yeah.
felt like there should have been more with them,
Yeah.
but I did just kill them. It was just like a fight. I just blew them up. And they had some
Yeah.
like lore bits, but I was like expecting a little bit more from characters with such interesting designs.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was like, this seems like they have a whole little side quest to them, but they really just aggro and fight you immediately. And what are people? And all these brains are being kept in order to be drunk later, like fine aged wine. Oh yeah, that was it. They were keeping that special
What?
brain.
That's the reason?
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's a beautiful Merlot, like essentially was the brain, because it was like the fact that it was cognizant made it like more yummy to like
They were like,
consume.
this one's special because it's experiencing eternal anguish.
So they like were keeping it in the back for like their celebration when they conquer
Oh
the
my
world or
god.
something, probably. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's super true. Um, what was I about to say? The other, oh, did you kill the bugbear who was like being tortured and just cutting up innards for all time?
Oh, no.
You
No,
left
I
him?
left him. He seemed pretty harmless.
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't. He wasn't. He let me let my brain out of a cage, my pet
Yeah.
brain. So I was like, I have no qualms with you.
I like
W-
peeked into his brain though and he wanted to die. Like he didn't want it.
Oh,
He was like getting forced to do it and I like prodded him and like read his thoughts and I was like I asked him, I was like, "Do you want to keep doing this?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "I'm going to kill you."
mercy
And he was like,
killing.
"Okay." And it was like
He
a
was
mercy
like, sounds
kill.
good.
He still fought me, but I think that's cuz the bug was like trying to protect itself. But he was like,
Controlling
"I don't
him.
want to do this anymore." And he like let me kill him. Like I
Aw.
killed him. Yeah, it was sad though because he was kind of cute. I think like bugbears are clearly ugly, but the name
Mhm.
bugbear is too cute
It
to me.
makes
Not
them seem like they would be really cute,
yeah,
and they just get a bad rap.
yeah.
I
I
really
was gonna.
liked the end fight though, with like the giant skeleton man. I don't know, that
Oh
was
my
really
god,
cool.
yeah, it was terrifying. Like it was a very clearly like they knew that this had to feel like an end fight. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't just Kethric Thorm like blah 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 like talking and then you kind of fight him and he goes away. They're like he has to have a phase 2 so that it
Yeah.
feels crazy when you finally kill him, which I appreciate because then it felt very much like a chapter end and now we're moving forward to somewhere else.
Hmm.
Is the act 3 a lot more, it seems like it's going to be a lot more bright and airy
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah,
outside
yeah. It's like
because I'm
sunny by the ocean in a city.
oh that's nice. See, I'm ready for that. I've had a bit too much time in like the dungeon dark
You're
and
like,
I
it's
want
dark and dank, and even though like you like save it, it doesn't like immediately change, right? Like there is no like
yeah,
Disney like, and then all the darkness was gone until
probably
you
because
leave, and then they're like, it's gone now. We're working on it.
they didn't want to like remake that whole area
That would be
but
apparently too
pretty
much.
just so we could walk around it for no
Cause
reasons.
like you check in with Halson and he's like, yeah, Thaniel's like clearing it up. I heard it's a little bit better now, and you're like, okay, if you say so.
Yeah, like I trust you. I totally like when I figured out that that's what they were doing, essentially like get out of here. We don't want to remake the
Yeah,
area
I
for
was
you. You
expecting like a Disney like moment where like the magic
yeah,
sweeps over the land and it's
like
beautiful
Tinkle
again.
Bells, like
Yeah.
little sparkles behind her dress, like changing everything.
Yeah, but no.
hmm Do you like Act 2 more than Act 1?
I did like Act 2 more than Act 1, but
I think I
I
did
think it's
too.
just because Act 1 in comparison feels so sparse compared to Act 2. Like
Yeah,
Act 1 is a lot of like walking around in the open. It's like very like beginner y. The monsters aren't that big. The fights aren't that like
you're learning.
bombastic. Yeah, it's a lot of learning. But it like on its own it's fine, but then when you play Act 2, you can tell that like the stakes are getting higher. At the very end of Act 2 they reveal like what the actual plot is essentially,
hmm
where like you meet Orin and then it's like Kethric Orin and then Gortash and you're like these are the baddies. Like these are who you're going to have to take out.
This is the people who you were scared of is scared of. So like clearly
Yeah.
they're way worse. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like here cuz at the beginning like you don't really know like who's running this cult of the absolute and you're
hmm
not really sure like what their end game is or anything about it, and then you're like who is putting all these worms in people's brains? And they're like it's these guys. Surprise.
And they're cool. Although I was gonna say the guy looks like he's out of Final Fantasy 16. That the other guy,
Gortash?
yeah, he
Yeah.
looks like. Does he not look like the main character? Because my partner's been playing Final Fantasy 16
He
behind
looks
me
like
while I play
Clive.
this, and I turned around. I was like, "That's this guy," and we like
That
had them
looks
both
like
on screen,
Gortash.
and they looked really similar.
Gortash always reminds me of like a scene band, like My Chemical Romance vibes with
Yeah,
like the messed up hair
totally.
and like the deep eyeliner. He always
Yeah,
gives me like those little emo vibes.
totally. And he just looks so Final Fantasy and out of place to me when I first saw him. Like everyone else looks Baldur's Gate, and he looks like totally Final Fantasy to me.
Hmm.
It made me laugh because I was like, "Who is this guy? What the hell?"
I've seen people like take his clothes and then like put his Gortash's clothes on Gale, and it looks so funny. It looks
Really?
so incredibly funny. Like it looks so dumb.
I like how everyone plays dress up with Gale. Like no one would ever
Mhm.
do that to Karlach. It's like you put it on
No.
Gale. Gale's the
Yeah.
Barbie, the Ken. Mm.
And I still can't believe they just fly away on their, like, giant brain.
Yeah,
They're like, "Don't fail us, old man.
yeah,
Old
and
man who we let you hang out with us," and then they, like, off on their giant brain.
yeah. They like. Did they know that he wasn't immortal anymore in that moment, or was he keeping that secret to like not make them think he was totally stupid?
I think they knew that that this was kind of his last stand. I don't know if they knew that he wasn't immortal anymore, but they knew that he messed up
Yeah,
enough that he had to fight in his giant pit and not like he had to literally recapture Aelin. Like they knew that he was like
he was slipping
he was just slipping a little bit. He wasn't doing too good. And I
because
think
they didn't
all
know how he was immortal.
no.
They just thought he was immortal because of his
They
like
thought that he
made
was
up
just like the
religion.
undead, right? Yeah. That is
Yeah,
just his god was granting him that power.
yeah. But he probably was feeling real anxious because they were like, "Do this or you're fired," and then he's like,
You
"Oh
can
shit,
kind of
I
you can see like the anxiety in him,
yeah,
like
I felt it."
when they're having that chat.
Yeah. Because he
Like
wants to say, "Wait, don't leave, please. I'm not immortal anymore."
yeah.
But he's too scared at what they'd
Well, like
say if he told
yeah,
them
like
that.
he's too proud, and I really feel like they did a good job. Like even though Ketherick Thorm is short is no longer, his time is running out for this like world, they really give you a good idea of what their dynamic is.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like Orin and Gortash are just dunking on Ketherick, and like that's the dynamic. And then when you go into Act 3, because Ketherick is gone, a lot of like his absence in the dynamic of 3 and it becoming just 2 really
Yeah.
causes a lot of conflict in Act 3 between Orin and
Oh,
Gortash. That they
I like
lost
that.
their like old man and now they're like at each other's throats.
The like person who is the mediator.
Yeah, or just like, it's nice when two people can they're like, "Well, at least like you're not Ketherick." And they're like, "Yeah, you're not Ketherick. I like you more." And then he's gone and they're like,
Mexican
"Now
standoff.
what?" Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's really cool. I think that's really good storytelling to be like lead you up to this really scary big baddie, and then it's like, wait, this guy's like level 1. He's
Mhm.
not even that like he's a receptionist compared to these two, and then they bring in the new big baddies, and then it just elevates your fear and your like reverence for them and stuff. Like I don't know if you ever watched Steven Universe, but it did a really good job of that. It was like, oh, like Yellow Diamond and Blue
Mhm.
Diamond were like the antagonists for like 3 seasons, and you're so scared of them. And then as soon as they're like not as scary, they bring out White Diamond
A
and they're
bigger
terrified
one and they're
of
like, yeah.
her. And then you're like, oh my God, I thought I was scared of these two. Like, if they're scared of her, like, what the heck is that gonna do for me? Like, I think that's a really good
Yeah.
storytelling thing. And you don't have
And
to
I
say
think
over and over, these guys are scary. You just like feel it.
yeah, because I used to think like, the goblins were scary. And then they like keep introducing like greater and greater things for me to be afraid of, like
The
as you
goblins are
go through
nothing
the
now.
game. Yeah, it's weird how it's nice how they kind of like, yeah, like they ramp it up really nicely. And I feel like it works. Like there is sort of that upwards, I don't know, skill thing. Because now in Act 2, I think I like Act 2 more than Act 1 because you have more skills too.
Hmm.
And Act 3, like I think you do level cap at like 11 or 12
Yeah.
for levels. So it's like in Act 2, you're still leveling, you're still getting new spells, you're like developing new strategies, and then Act 3, I did end up hitting my level cap in Act 3, and then you're like, well, now I'm just getting experience for no reason.
Oh, that's kind of a bummer, but I guess they have to
Mhm.
cap it at some point, otherwise it would just be broken. And that's
Mhm.
D&D, right? D&D stops at 12.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
cap is level 12. I don't know. I think yeah, I think D&D also caps at 12, but they don't it was like I capped someone's saying it caps at 20. Let's see.
Oh.
D&D it's not based off 5e though.
Well, it just kind of like
Yeah,
you
20,
could
1 through 20.
okay. Wonder
Yeah,
why
the
they
game
chose
ends
12
at
then.
12. I think it might be different D&D sets.
Hmm.
Because I play 5e and I know Baldur's Gate isn't 5e.
Gotcha. They say it's level 12 for gameplay reasons, says
Yeah, so
chat. Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3 is just 5th edition, but the newest edition is 5e. Is that 5th
What
edition?
what
I
edition
don't know.
is D&D doing now? What number is it at?
I think we're still on 5e.
Oh, There's so
But yeah,
much
I
to
think
this
after
backstory.
12, you start to get some like really wild spells that would like break the game essentially.
Like Gale's nuke, but you can just use it whenever.
Yeah. Well, there's some like wild fucking spells that they didn't have. Where like one of my favorite bard spells is like Tiny House, where
What's
like
that?
you quite literally spawn a tiny house that you and your companions can go into and long rest
Oh,
at any point.
what?
And then when you level it up, you can literally spawn a mansion in like a separate plane with like a bunch of like servants in it.
Like the Harry Potter like tents in Quidditch that get bigger on
Yeah,
the
but it's like
inside.
quite literally your own mansion.
Oh my god, I love that. I like cute stuff like that. Like I would just want to be whatever character can make the cutest stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, there are some spells that they definitely couldn't put in here just because they would like break the game.
That's fair. So 12 seems like the place to stop. That's like
Yeah.
and I even though there probably are cool things they could add and just pretend are level 12, I'm guessing they're not doing that. Like D&D rules, whatever spells you get at level 12, that's where they're stopping.
I think so. I know that they've like changed it a little bit, but I haven't
Mm.
like quite looked into all the differences.
Yeah.
And I think where they leave off, like people have been modding a lot. Like I know there's like an artificer mod,
Mm.
which is like another D&D class that people have been saying is like actually pretty good.
Okay. Are you modding a lot?
I'm only modding my appearance.
Cool.
I started a new game and I like downloaded like an unlimited hair pack, which is like 99 hairstyles. And
Yeah.
then I downloaded like an unending closet, which gives you access to every single piece of clothing in the entire game, plus some like additional ones. And you get that like I really like it. Like you literally get that like the minute you start the game. And I also downloaded new faces.
Oh, that's cool.
So I didn't like any of the faces that they gave me. So now I just look like a really hot lady wearing really cute clothes.
And what's your build right now? Oh, Necromancer.
Necromancer was the one that I just finished. I'm trying
Oh,
Warlock on my other one.
just to Eldritch Blast everything
Yeah.
is the vibe. Yeah. What's the race for this one? Like what had the cutest
I think it's
CC
just
stuff?
elf, honestly.
Yeah, they're the hottest. I mean, that makes
It
sense.
just sucks when you become an elf because then you like sleep, like you do the meditation sleep where you're just like,
Yeah, I see Asterion doing that, and I'm like, what
like
the?
you're just like fingies crossed and you're like feet straight up and you're literally just meditating.
Can you imagine doing that to sleep every? Are they actually just not sleeping? They're
Well,
meditating.
they don't have to sleep. Like they only like they just have to meditate for like a certain amount of hours and it counts for sleep
Oh, look at
for
them.
elves. So elves can like get more stuff back with like less time essentially. Like, they don't have to like fully go to sleep.
That makes sense. I feel like that's very Lord of the Ringsy too.
Mm-hmm.
Same energy.
But they obviously couldn't do that in Baldur's Gate because like you'd be up in the middle of the night while everybody else is sleeping, just like waiting.
That'd be awkward. Did you do the rat thing in the Gauntlet of Shar?
I talked to the rats, but I couldn't figure out what their issue was.
It's
rats.
really funny. It like plays with the Euger thing. Like so the last you know how he has to kill the last Dark Justiciar and he's like, "Where is he?" And you're like, "Is it Balthazar?" And he's like, "No." And it's like that. And so like you're trying to figure out who the dark and then you end up just killing him. So like it doesn't matter.
Is it a rat?
The rats have a curse on them where the last Dark Justiciar is all the rats. Like he got split up between all the rats. So then if you go down that huge statue of Shar, like in the middle of the temple, you can go down.
I love it because like it takes place at her feet.
Yeah,
which
literally.
I just feel like all the rats are like worshiping them toes.
Yeah, they're down by her toes with a little
down by her
thing,
feet,
worshiping her toes, and you can go up. And what's funny is the first time I went down there, I was only with my druid, my like main character, and she failed a perception check, and I just like didn't think about it. But then I ended up going down there for something else, and Lae'zel passed it. And the only way you can figure this out is if they pass that perception, I guess, because she was like, "Oh, look, like a ritual circle," and so I was like, "Oh, what?" And I went over, and there's like just a rat,
look at
like
these
hanging
weird
out.
rats performing a ritual that you missed that you just like didn't see.
But like there was a rat there, and I talked to him, and he was like, "Go away." You know how the rats are always like, "Go away, you're not meant to be
I love it.
here.
They're like, "We love Shar. Go away. You don't love Shar as much as we do.
Not meant to walk where she walked," and they're like so sassy. But like if you pass the perception when you talk to him again, then it triggers this fight where you fight and all the rats spawn in and you fight the rats, and that's when you use the Beyblade because they're like 1 health, right? But there's a million of them, so you just have Beyblade Shadowheart, and they come in from every angle and they just die immediately. So it's actually kind of
That's
like funny because you
hilarious.
can just stand there and like be embarrassed for them while they just kill themselves
They're
on
like,
your Beyblade.
vengeance for Our Lady Shar.
And then if you kill them all, it like the Dark Justiciar like comes back to like he becomes himself again, and he's like, "Oh my god, you did it!" And then you can like kill him because he's kind of like
I
pissed at
was
you also.
rats for so long.
I don't remember. So I just killed him, and he had some good loot on him. And then, but I guess if you did that before, you can go back and it frees that demon because the last Dark Justiciar
Oh.
is dead because that's the one he's been looking for. But he's just been rats, so like he didn't kill all the
Imagine
rats.
being him
How
and being
embarrassing.
alive because you never thought to kill every single all the like how could you not assume that the Dark Justiciary was just a bunch of rats?
Yeah, but you'd think he would kill the rats, like eat them or something, or like his cat would have ate the rats. Like I feel like
It
Raphael
was
maybe
a
didn't think
lot
that
of
through.
rats.
Yeah,
Like they were all over the place.
they were, and they're hanging out. But there's some weird note. I didn't get the context of this till after, but there's a note you find that like kind of talks about Raphael's curse is like you now one is now many or something is like how he phrases it. So you're like,
Oh,
what? But
so
then once
did
you kill the
Raphael
rats,
split him into a bunch of rats?
yeah, so that the demon would get trapped forever because
That
he can't kill the
stinky bastard.
He's such a stink. He literally did that just so the demon like could never find the last one
hmm
and just be stuck down there forever. Like he was being such a little
Raphael has, I think, one of my favorite finales of Act 3 with his
really.
quest. Yeah,
I'm so
definitely one of
intrigued
my
by him.
favorites.
Yeah, I think he's really I think that's I just love the way he's introduced in Act 1 where I was literally just walking down the street and suddenly this guy shows up and is like, "Let me solve your problem immediately right now. Do it." And I was like I sat there for so long thinking
You
about it.
thought
I'm like,
about it?
well, no, I knew I wasn't going to, but I was like,
But you were
what?
like, what if I did, though?
What game just is like, hey, the thing you're questing out, and you're only like, 10, 20 hours in. Let me
What
fix
if he
that for
just
you.
solved it for you? What if he just solved it?
I was like, what would I do in
Easy.
this world then? Like, I don't know.
Easy.
Yeah, I'm excited for what he ends up doing in Act 3. Do you like Act 3 more than Act 2?
Mm,
Is it is
I
it like
liked
a
the
good
vibes
finale?
of Act 2. Like, I feel like Act 2 had a very solid, like, linear line in it. But
Mm-hmm.
because Act 3 has to wrap up so many storylines, it
Mm.
does just become a case of, like, and then I
And
tie
this
up
and
this
this
loose
and this.
end, and then I tie up this loose end, and then I'll tie up this loose end until, like, the crescendo, until you're finally, like, finished tying up all your loose ends. And I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's necessarily, like, their fault, but, like, you do spend most of your time just, like, tying up loose ends, and then the plot kind of, like, I wouldn't say falls
Finishes.
apart, but, like, you're like, I kind of forgot the narrative for a moment in Act 3 because I was too busy, like, running around and, like, finding all the NPCs that I already previously encountered. It's like a weird, like,
Uh,
reunion episode.
okay.
But yeah, it has some of the best moments in the game in
Cool.
Act 3.
It's
But
like
it's just a
rewarding.
lot. It's just a lot. Yeah, it's very rewarding and it's really cool seeing, like, what all your decisions led to. But
Hmm.
it does feel, like, overwhelming at first because Baldur's Gate is huge.
Yeah. There's so many, and I think if you're a good egg, that means there's a
Mhm.
lot of stuff in 3. But maybe a Dark Urge playthrough, it's like quicker.
It would be very empty probably because yeah, it's like
Mm.
every single character you've saved for the most part, every single like good decision you've made. Now there's like something in Baldur's Gate for them. Everyone
Oh,
who's like,
okay.
I'm going to Baldur's Gate, like they will be there.
Cool. See, I think that's what I want from it, but I also still want it to feel like a purposeful ending, which it sounds like there
hmm
still is, but it is a little bit errandy to get there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think it would. It's so hard to stick the landing of something like this,
Mhm.
which like depends upon like 1,000 different choices you've made over like 100 hours in a game.
Yeah.
And I personally still liked Act 3. Like people are always like, "Oh, I heard it really falls off at Act 3." And to me it didn't. It just kind of changed.
Yeah.
It wasn't so driven. You kind of had to do a lot of like self-exploring, a lot of like you had to kind of go about it on your own way without somebody saying like, "Hey, look over there. Have you tried this?" Like it's no like there's no like evil castle like lurking in the distance.
Yeah. Gotcha. I really feel like if this was a Netflix show, it would be revered. Like
Mhm.
everyone's parents would watch it because the story is so good. It's just there's so much gameplay in between, and it's not everyone's cup of
Yeah.
tea. But if this was a
And, like,
movie,
just
if
the
this was a trilogy
relationship between
series,
Yeah! And
It'd
the
be
relationship
huge.
between the characters is like incredibly good.
The voice acting's amazing. The characters are really good. I care about talking to them. I normally like don't care about talking to anyone. Like I'm playing Starfield too. I don't care about a single thing out of anyone's mouth in that whole game. Like the game's fine, but
Yeah.
I run to Karlach when I think something of interest is happening relating to
You're
Karlach.
like,
I'm
Carla,
so
Carla, what do
excited.
you think about this?
Karlach, Damon's over there. Like, should we go talk to him? And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like excited. Or Asterion saying, "Bring me next time you see Raphael." And like I could just ignore that. Like in Starfield, Sarah could say, "Make sure I'm
Mm-hmm.
there next time you find a piece." And I'm like, I truly don't care if you're there or not. Like I'm just gonna get the piece and bring it back. But I'm going to bring
Mm-hmm.
Asterion to Raphael next time I see him because I need to know what happens. Like it's just like a
Mm-hmm.
different vibe for me. It's so good. Ugh. I'm not
It
even
is
done. It's
really
my
good.
game of the
I
year for
feel bad
sure.
for every game that I've had to play after Baldur's Gate 3.
Me too.
Like, I'm sorry, but you're already not. Like, I played, like, Sea of Stars after Baldur's Gate 3, and I was like, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
there's
hard
just,
to
like, the
play
sacrificial
Starfield.
lamb of games that come after Baldur's Gate 3.
Have you played Starfield at all?
I started it, and then I was
Yeah.
like, this isn't Baldur's Gate 3.
I
Man,
know.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
And I love Bethesda games, but it's so hard to go to a game like that after this where I want it to just be Baldur's Gate 3 in space and it's not, which is
Mm-hmm.
so unfair for me to want. But that's what I want now because this game has spoiled me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like it's like what we could have if we like gave game developers like time and we kind of like let them have more creative agency versus like pushing it out to like appease the shareholders.
Yeah.
No
Like if
offense, Starfield.
it's not a product, it's a project. That's like the vibe. Like they didn't
Mm-hmm.
just make this to make money. They were like, let's make the best D&D video
Yeah.
game ever. And that's how they started it and that's how they finished it. They're not like, let's make a video game. They're like, what if you could play D&D as a video game? Go.
Yeah.
And they just like
And we
did as
gave you
much
like all
work.
the possibilities as that you could have in a D&D game.
Yeah.
All the different like routes you could take. Yeah, I can't imagine like the absolute behemoth this game was to make.
It must have been so hard. And I still like Starfield. It's just it's very hard to play games after
Mm-hmm.
Baldur's Gate 3. And it's so I love it. It's like I can't think of the last time that I cared about a game this much. It's genuinely been a long time for me. And it's like sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm just old. Like, and it's kind of a bummer. Like,
Yeah,
remember
it
how
does
much
feel
you
that
loved
way, right?
stuff? Yeah, like remember how
Mm-hmm.
much you loved stuff in grade 12? You just
Yeah.
loved stuff and it just hit different and you kind of like just lose that feeling over time and you're like, I still
Yeah.
really like Tears of the Kingdom and I had fun, but while I'm playing it, I don't have that weird like feeling in my soul of like, yee, I'm such a nerd for
Yeah.
this. But this game
It
has made me feel that way for the first time in 5 or 7 years, which feels
this is
crazy.
this is like the once in a blue moon game, but it gave me that feeling like remember when you were a kid and you would play a game and you felt like anything was possible? Like
Yes.
when you're a kid and like you didn't see the guardrails, you didn't see like the fake walls, you were like I think this game I can do anything I want. That's how I felt with
Yeah.
like Baldur's Gate. It like gave me that feeling again as like being a kid and like you're like anything is possible.
That's such a
I
good
have
analogy.
the whole game ahead of me to play, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And now I'm an adult, and I feel like I can see plot points coming from like miles away, and like the gameplay mechanics are just not there. You know, you're like I've played this 1,000 times before, but yeah, no, Baldur's Gate is just completely different.
That's so true. That's like the perfect way to describe it because you play enough games, you can kind of peer behind the curtain and say,
Hmm.
okay, I get what the system's doing here. But with Baldur's Gate, I'm like, how'd they do that? That was so long ago. Like, how did they remember to tie that back in? Like, they thought of
Hmm.
this? Question mark. Whoa. The fact that I can talk to a corpse bed. Who sat down and was like, that'd be funny, and they like took the time and put it in there. Like, that's such a niche thing that one out of every million people is gonna check. But
Yeah.
like they just think that'd be funny and they put it in. But it's that times
Hmm.
a million because it's everything has that much thought put into it. It's crazy. Except when people yell at your skeletons and chase you into the darkness and die.
And then die of their own accord, of their own volition. Let me leave.
And I don't
But
know
it's
how
like you
this
can like
plot's gonna
forgive
end.
stuff like that, like when that kind of stuff happens, like you can like
Yeah,
forgive it when it's a game this massive, like the little bugs, you know, you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Makes
I
like
learned that lesson.
when Gale was like, "We're in love," and I was like, "Okay, something got crossed, some wire got crossed, but it's fine. It's not actually affecting my playthrough that much. It's
Did you
fine.
see the line rewrite for that? Where like
No.
there's a part in the game with Gale and you can be like quite literally they rewrote one of the responses to Gale where it's like, I'm doing this as a friend. And you can like friend zone him in the beginning, or else he will just
Oh,
start to like develop romantic feelings for you. They literally like put a line in with the word friend in it.
it's to make it
And it
so
was a
apparently
very
clear.
yeah, very like drawing the line in the sand, the line.
I like it's almost like Gale's achieved sentience and they need to give
Yeah.
the player more tools to calm him down instead of
Yeah.
just making him not want to date you so hard. They're like,
Yeah.
turn him down more clearly.
Yeah, they're like, here you go. Here's your friend zone
Friend zone
bullet.
button.
Yeah. Boop.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that they specifically did that. That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. I don't know where the plot's gonna go, like you were saying. Like I can kind of guess. Like I'm assuming, and this isn't a spoiler because I don't know. I'm assuming they fight the big baddie and win, and there's a way to
Yeah.
win. But I don't know how to get there. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if there's 10 different ways to do that. If
Mm-hmm.
everyone could live, if everyone could die, if it's like until dawn, where like if you do everything perfect, everyone gets to walk home after, or if you do this wrong, Lae'zel dies and everyone else
Yeah.
lives. I don't know how it's gonna go, and that feels really refreshing
And there's
because
so much more between like Act 2 and Act 3. Like Act 3, it's not just wrapping things up too. Like they
mm,
introduce new storylines as
cool. Okay,
well.
that's
So you're
cool.
like, oh, I gotta wrap this up and like change this, but also like make sure that I don't miss anything that I. It's a lot of like, and it's really hard because like the town isn't as easy to navigate with all like the winding roads. So it's like I tried
Mm.
my best to like make sure that I'm sure I missed, like, a bunch of stuff because you can, like, go into every building, you can talk to every NPC, and it's yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to see a city. Cause like so far it's just been the woods or the dark. That's
Yeah.
the only two
It was
places
it
I've
was a
gone.
refreshing change, but then I was like, "Oh my god," like, what I wouldn't give for the open plains, the open roads. By the end of it, I was like, "Oh god."
A lot of talking.
Well, it's just like there's something around, like, every corner, and you're like, "Have I been in that building before?" You're like, "I
Yeah.
don't know. I think like, I need to, like, literally get, like, a paint by number map of Baldur's Gate and, like, color in every building that I've been in so, like, I know where I haven't been yet."
Every NPC name to check it off the list and
Yeah.
talk to
I
them or
need, like, you
not.
know how, like, the Stardew Valley girlies make those, like, almanacs? Like, they literally have their,
Yes.
like, giant, huge, like, planning booklets of, like, when to plant, like, presents and
Every
stuff. I need
day.
that for Baldur's Gate 3.
It's Marie's
I need,
birthday. Do
like
this.
I need, like, a girly to make me a cute, like, to-do list for Baldur's Gate 3 that I can, like, color in and, like, bullet journal, and, like, color in my heart levels.
Oh, I love it. That's an Etsy business right there.
Mhm.
That could do well. Like first playthrough and it's like a bullet journal with coloring and then here's what you should do on your second playthrough and
Mhm.
eventually the whole journal is just seeing every single cutscene in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. And
I
it'll,
would
like,
buy
for
that.
each act, it'll be, like, follow up, like, it'll be, like, a chart, like, did you save this NPC? Like, did you talk to them here? And then did you talk to them again here to make sure that I'm not, like, missing things?
Yes. And you could say, okay, here's the run where you're romancing Karlach and explains all of Karlach. And here's the run where you're romancing Asterion and
Mhm.
Shadowheart if they're chill with it. And like just going, oh, there you go. The perfect Etsy business. I would
Mhm.
100% buy that journal. That'd be so cute. We're a very niche market though also.
Yeah. But it's like the organized girly, you know?
The
Can't miss a
organized
thing.
girly Baldur's Gate fan
Mhm.
who likes to color. I think we've covered every side quest and every plot point. There's a lot of them.
I
But
really
there's
thought that I
also
had this water I really thought Act 2 I had watertight until you mentioned that guy in the woods with his raven. Like, god I thought that I, like, nailed it. I was like, "I nailed it. I didn't mess up like Act 1 and not see the crash. I've absolutely nailed it." And you're like, "Yeah, so there's this guy in the woods with a white raven." And I'm like, "How do you miss that? How did I just not see him?"
he's very tucked in the corner. Did you end up doing the crash? Did you go back and do a playthrough
I'm
and see all
still
that?
working through it. It's like I'm
Yeah,
at this point where I feel like I've played Act 1 so much that, like, I'm taking a little bit of a break.
fair.
Because I feel like I am at this point, like I'm like starting to rush to Act 2, and I'm like, no, 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 like this is an experience to savor.
Oh, and you also have all your early access time. That's
Yeah.
all Act 1.
The
That's fair.
idea of having to go through the goblins again it's like visceral, like the negative reaction of having. I wish there was some way to just like skip Act 1, because at this point I'm like, please,
Yeah.
don't make me do it again. I'm
It's so hard
tired
to
of.
implement a feature like that where it's 1,000% choice based, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's like just like I don't know. I'm about to like find some kids and like pay them $20 to like take my account through. Like I don't know. You guys want to make a quick buck? Okay, get me out of here. Here's
That's
a list of
amazing.
things you need to do. I'll make them a little bullet journal.
That'd be kind of cool to have like a feature where you could skip Act 1 and just check boxes of what you want to be done or not.
Yeah,
That would be cool, but that kind of really shatters the illusion.
that defeats the purpose. But also, I'm just like,
the purpose.
oh, don't make me go back to the goblins. I can't do it because then, like, even though I've played the entire game, I still want to do it all again. And like, even now that I know like what is more missable than other things, I still want to do it. You know, like I still want to get through it.
Hi,
and
folks.
have you done like?
Hi,
Oh, hello.
man.
Sorry, are you still talking Baldur's Gate?
No,
I mean, we're just chit chat. We be
We're
chit
just
chatting.
chit-chatting.
Was there a concrete ending?
Yes,
Okay.
I would say
This
so.
is the concrete ending.
This is it. Okay, sweet. Love it.
Tune in for the Act 3, which I don't know if that's going to be 2 hours. That feels like a dissertation.
Yeah.
Did you know that you can more than double the amount of podcasts from MinnMax every single week by supporting us at the $5 tier on Patreon? You don't have to listen through the browser or anything dumb like that. You'll get access to a private RSS feed if you support us on Patreon. You put it in your favorite podcast app, and then bam, you can listen to our weekly bonus podcast Party Chat, the podcast versions of The Deepest Dives, MinnMax interviews, Max spoilers, and you get the MinnMax Show podcast a day earlier than everybody else. So please help support independent games media. Head over to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's.